You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
And welcome to Maximum Driftcast. We are back from our little hiatus.
Little weekend trip.
Our weekend vacation.
It was a staycation. No, vacation. It's a racecation. What was it called? Sam?
It was a I think racer vacationer is what the official race
term
service
of
thing
it
called it.
was.
Oh, and it looks like there's some gentleman sitting next to you, Sam. Can you hug him?
Which direction is
The other way?
No, it's the other way. It's the other way. Let me see if I can.
Did you
High
touch
five him in
Did
the
you touch
face.
him? Oh.
There you go. Oh, he's getting away from
Oh,
you.
Yeah, there we
so
go.
soft.
Wow.
Scratch the top of his head. It's a little finger.
Technology, boys.
Yeah, we're here with Christopher Stewart. And Chris, what is your official name of the Gridlife in the Gridlife operation?
I guess I'm director, founder, director of concern, chief worrier, good time chaperone, amongst a bunch of other titles as
The
well.
most critical task you had at Gridlife South recently was the oil boy, and you'd oil up the drivers,
Yeah,
especially Corey, so it gets
Hey.
into his hot dog suit.
Yep. You know, you got to get them ready for the S's.
Yeah, literally, we slid right into those S's. I haven't been slickened up that well in a very long time, so thanks, dude. Means,
Yeah, you can't-
it was.
You're welcome. I aim to be the best.
You
You can't
are.
be doing that if you have a lot of resistance on your body, so you got to
Right.
be as oiled as you get.
It's true.
Everyone know that. Before we get started, I want to talk about a really real problem here. I'd like to call it Gridlife hangover. And I don't mean from the booze. I don't mean from any of the partying. It's just like a general feeling of exhaustion and sadness, maybe. I don't know. Like you just turned on the whole time at Gridlife because there's just so much going on and there's so many things to see and do, and then for like the next 5 days after, I think it gets worse every event. The week
Yeah.
following Gridlife, I just feel like drained. Why
Yeah.
is that? What have you done to me, Chris?
I don't know. People talk about that, and I definitely have suffered from Gridlife hangover. I don't have any suggestions on how to alleviate that condition. It's just something that is. I don't know. There is so much going on, and it moves so quickly. Like I was just saying before the podcast began, I was at Road Atlanta. I didn't leave the property for 8 days, but it really felt like I was, it was such a flash in the pan. Like it moves so quickly, and there's so many things. And then when it wraps up, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Like, you remember that? What day was that? Oh, that was Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, what did happen at Gridlife this year? There was a lot. This is the
Oh my
third
God.
Gridlife South.
Move to the right, Paco. I'm getting directions. Okay.
I was sending it as a private message to make it smooth.
This is awkward for me.
You and Sam are docking
So good.
years.
Yeah. No, but he went a little. There you go. All right,
I'm just moving the laptop here, and that's
Yeah.
not working either. So,
it's all
now
good.
I'm in the darkness.
Now you're a black silhouette.
All right. So what went down to this Gridlife? Third Gridlife South. It was the biggest, the best so far. But what was this year all about? What was the main theme here?
I mean, the main theme is always good times and bringing as many different elements of automotive culture and enthusiasm, primarily centered around motorsports, to integrate and cross-pollinate with each other. So, I think with this year at South, probably like the guest list, for lack of a better term, was as stacked as it's ever been. From obviously our regular group of homies and some new additions with Frederick Osbo coming into the mix for the first time, and then I heard that Bobby Labonte came by and was hanging out. So some NASCAR legends in the mix, and
There was a lot of incredible cross-pollination, like you said. And then we had the Travis Payne himself came down. I saw he was fraternizing with some of the drivers. Like there was just so many people from different walks of life and different, you name it. There's just so many.
Yeah. I was talking about it on Sunday. I was like, wait a minute. So like, Bobby Labonte came by and got a drift ride with Chris Forsberg, and then after that, Killer Mike came by and hung out with all the drivers backstage, and we were kicking it and talking about all types of things that are Killer Mike like. And then the next day, T-Pain shows up and he's hanging out with Chelsea, learning how to drift. And I don't know if you saw the Instagram video, which had Toto playing in the background, just so happened.
Of course.
On the track radio, because it was like the quiet hour, and it's the only time when like Old Man Road Atlanta like took over the PA, and like played his his
Favorite song.
standard Road Atlanta paddock playlist, and it was just all those stars aligned, and I was like, what a weekend.
It was magical.
And little do you know, maybe you do know, that is, of course, Jared Deanda's favorite jam. And that was playing over the loudspeakers Friday as well, because we were trying to hype people up.
I had it contractually mandated that when the stage went up on Thursday, and this was on the IG story, that Toto was the sound check and the level balance for for the stage itself. So my production partner there, AIS, at the Midwest event, Phil Collins was the mandated sound check.
Great.
Anything from No Jacket Required, it was their pick. And then this event, it was Africa by Toto, and that was all for Jared. So, yeah.
The things we do for that guy, but he definitely,
he's worth it. He's worth
Yeah,
it. He does a lot for us and everyone else he comes in contact with.
Yeah, he gave me
Beyond
back
the life
rubs.
is quite a life.
He was giving me back rubs and inner thigh rubs the whole time we're announcing. If you couldn't see, it was quite the experience.
It was a wide angle lens. Everyone could see Sam.
Oh damn it! Yeah, there was that moment where it's been played back on the internet a couple times where I was like, I'm gonna enjoy a nice crisp Rockstar energy drink, and I popped the can in front of the microphone, in front of the microphone.
Yep.
And then now that we have this beautiful sound switching situation done by was it Matt in the control room?
Yeah.
Camera switching. Yeah, and until he cuts the camera. And then I think Jared's like, camera's on you, Sam. They can see it's not a rock star. I was like, all right, quick, cut away, cut to wide. And they cut to like a signal feed down video, and it was just perfect. It was good. Yeah, so lots of new things for this event. There was, we were in the tower for the first time, and then we had this live stream thing with multi-camera angles. We could see tons of different angles of the track. What were the new big parts of this event that existed?
We're always kind of pushing things forward. So, the whole theme of this year is like kind of setting up for the next, the next iteration. So the live stream was a really big thing that Matt Johnson from SFP, Specialty Field Productions, who shot a bunch of drift, shoots a bunch of stuff for Ken and Ford Performance, and has kind of a long history in motorsports and a long history as my friend for the last 12, 15 years. But him and I have been quietly working on this beta of the live stream. So that was a big push. So that was 8 cameras in-car, 2 in-car cameras, 2 drones. And we just kind of quietly rolled that out. And a lot of like little changes like that, like small infrastructure stuff and like optimization on the back end, which people don't really think about, but like a lot of departmentalizing and like making the event smoother and making it so when you went to the box office, you didn't have to text me and be like, hey, I'm here. So a ton of stuff like that, which isn't the most glamorous stuff to talk about, but it's
well, that's what I want to talk about too.
Yeah, that's part of it. So it was a lot of like getting all those systems in place and making all that stuff run really smoothly, and just thinking about all of the like kind of interactions and the way that people come into the festival, and how they're advanced and how they get their information before the festival and what it feels like when they get to the box office, and then do they know where to go when they get, into the festival, and is all that guidance and those things laid out and signage and boom, like all those things, just thinking about the touch points for every single one of the different, attendees. And there's a lot of different attendees. So you've got HPDE, just regular track guys, and then the time attack drivers, and then the pro drivers and the amateur drivers and the guests and the announcers and the partners and the all that stuff. So yeah, I mean that was like the big theme of this entire year, all while like trying to up the experience for everybody externally. So adding kind of a couple of small new interactive features with the dome and like additional stage production and couple of layout changes. So I don't know, it's always like consistently evolving with every single event, and I think we're in a really cool position to be able to like try different stuff and kind of see what sticks and see what doesn't, all in the sake of good times with friends.
Yeah. What was the biggest stressor, the biggest complication that people might not know about, that they're like, what's the crisis that's going on behind the scenes that no one ever gets to hear about?
I mean, there wasn't any like real major crisis this year. I mean, I think we've 3 years at Road Atlanta, we've kind of adjusted to kind of the big fires, and I was just kind of making reference of like, we had all of the like 2016 crisis list like accomplished, done, and set, pretty early in the event, and then the 2017 list was, pretty much handled. And the 2018 list just kept getting bigger. So it was a lot of like dialing into the details on things like, I mean, I don't know, like there's a lot of different people to work with at a facility like Road Atlanta. So when you're trying to like, it's a really stark contrast to the Midwest event. So the Midwest event, at Gingerman Raceway, that kind of production is something where we get the keys to a racetrack and there isn't infrastructure to support it, right? So we bring in everything from the fencing to the power grid to the water supply to the toilets to the security to the gate staff. Everything comes with us. So coming out of that event and being prepared to kind of basically set up a motorsports event, in a field, you come to Road Atlanta where you've got a lot of support, but you're also kind of navigating the different ways that people, the different ways that people approach problems. So
yeah. It's a very PC way to put it.
Sure, right. So like, I think when we talk about like, the tone of the event, we have like 100% control over, at the Midwest event and all those bits and pieces. So, that really serves as the proof of concept. And then when you come into, where you're like managing other staff that has kind of a legacy of operating a certain way, you got to find that middle ground and work it out. So I wouldn't necessarily call that like a crisis or a challenge, but it's definitely something that's different when you're working with these different facilities and producing, trying to produce a replicated experience, across two different places.
All right, Corey, this is your first Gridlife South. What was your overall experience and driver's experience and you name it?
Well, comparing it to what I've heard in previous years, was this the first year where it was hot lap drift session nonstop
all weekend?
Yeah. So
Kyle was still holding him at the top of the hill, which I was mistaken about on live stream. I thought that they were just running down the hill at 150, but you guys didn't do that till Sunday.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sam. Like being up on that grid, it's the only reason there's a slight hold up there is to separate groups. And there's sometimes I blew by there where Nick is like literally on the sidelines giving the don't stop, send it.
Right.
And,
I mean, there's the attempt to stack up drivers and camera cars and all that. But. So
when you finish the downhill layout through the keyhole, you can still go wide open the rest of the track.
Oh, yeah.
And so that slight stop is probably needed for most drivers because they'd probably kill themselves if they didn't have if they didn't have any type of management on top of the hill. So, that's awesome that was happening that way. But you see Road Atlanta and it's like this big historic track, and even doing like the FD stuff and these other things, you only run a portion. So to kind of get let loose on something like that, you're like, this is not
go wild.
Yeah, this is like you're giving keys to a car to a kid, and just like, you want me to do this? All right, we're doing it, and it was absolutely nuts. It was totally incredible.
Yeah,
and
I mean, the thing that we try to do, like with again with like the idea of cross pollination is put everything in the same context. So like the time attack drivers get to drive, the full course, and they know how they drive on the S's and where they brake and things like that. So, putting drifting on a full course like gets more context to those that understand the layout, and it's also like something unique that only Gridlife does. With all of our tracks, it's like, it's hot lap full track. So this is the first year where, like years previous, we had gates. So basically like slow down sections. So the front straight between turn 12 was one of them. And then you could like kick it back up right around turn 2 and then run till turn 5. And then you had to kind of shut it down again until you got back in line. And then, this year we like kind of pared down the approvals, got a little bit tighter on the driver roster, reduced the overall amount of drivers we were managing, and then allowed you guys to, basically gave you the responsibility until you lost the privilege, and nobody did. Everyone was, and I think like, drifting and track racing, even though they're kind of cut from the same fabric in some capacity, just have very different cultures. So, an HPDE or a time attack group like kind of knows how to see flags and like watch corner stands, and drift drivers don't. So in years past, that's definitely been a challenge. But I think 3 years in, like we're starting to educate the drift drivers, on what things to watch for, so they're given more responsibility.
Well, even being put in that situation though, you're giving this huge platform for these guys to run on. It's like you have to have some sort of brains in your head, or you are going to hurt yourself. Like, you go to most tracks and you run a tight section. It's like when you go to the S's or the back section of Road Atlanta, it's like this. If shit's gonna go down, it's gonna go down over here. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh fuck, I got to try it. I got to do it. But it's very intimidating. So kind of, you work your way into it, and then you see Osbo and Forsberg just fly by you on the first lap, and it's like, okay, it's possible, but it's being in that factor of, okay, you got to walk into this. You can't just do it your first run, and
yep.
And that's the thing is the 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and sometimes a lot of the guys didn't put it together until Sunday, and
sure, and then they come back next year and they'll be able to put it together in the third session on Friday, and it all like kind of evolves, over time. So.
Here's another thing I want to bring up too, Chris. This is another thing I want to bring up too. So obviously I drove Midwest, which for me, I didn't get much seat time in because I was literally breaking in a car for the first time and driving it. So as you know, building a brand new car, and I appreciate you and allowing you for me to go out there and do that at your event. But now it was like, okay, I had a month. We had a month to get this thing figured out, and so I haven't driven in probably in this level in probably like a year and a half, 2 years, and the amount of seat time that was given this weekend is absolutely nuts. And I think I feel more up to speed now rather than going to like a bunch of little local events, that by doing this, I probably have a total of 6 driving events locally in one event. So I was able to knock out, literally, it felt like 6 local events drive time in one weekend, which is probably the most beneficial thing you can do for any driver.
You got to see dudes like Farouk who haven't had the best success in FD, and then he is putting down maybe hundreds of laps, and they were killer laps by the end. Like Farouk was throwing down high qualifying point runs, and this is just a for fun party event. You get to see a driver like that finally get the seat time that he's needed behind the wheel of his BMW. It's really cool to see. And then you, Corey, like you started out pussyfooting, for lack of a better term, but rightfully so, because you don't.
No, we want you to do that so that you don't kitty litter the car.
But then by Saturday he was, and even by the end of Friday, he was full on ripping. And then by Saturday you see him in tandems with the other Rockstar bros in tight tandem, and it's really sick to see Corey, Faust, and Osbo. We in the stands are like, we've got how many championships was it? Is it 3 championships, and one guy who qualified 33rd.
It's a very interesting train right there.
Funny.
Yeah.
Not to mention that is also the round where the same track where Corey had a chance to battle champion Michael Essa, As I went 3 wheels off track and he still lost against that.
Dude, that is the funniest thing. We
Brought some
have
memories.
2 champions and another guy that's like he's knocked 33rd out 5 times in one season.
Yeah,
That's a fucking record in itself.
you were shred. And yeah, like you said about the back S's, like I never had a chance to see those before, but thankfully now with the live stream, I was able to watch all that drifting and even got to cruise shotgun with Forsberg through that area, and we did pretty much full track drifting. And if it wasn't for that little stop at the top of the hill, like he needed that to cool his car down, because when you drift through elevation changes nonstop up and around an entire track, your car gets a little spicy.
Right, and I think the other reason for kind of that stop and that pause is one to reset and restack the field, and then also just to gut check the mechanical state of the car, right? So,
dude, and to digest what you just did on track. Like I would literally do a lap and I'd pull up and be like, what the fuck did I just do? Like I need a second. I need a second to recover because my adrenaline is going through the roof. And I think that's the point where everybody rolls up and they just realize what just happened and digest what you just did and then go do it again. Do a lap, digest. Yeah, that stop's needed. And dude, I'm just so blown away. Like I seriously couldn't have a better weekend out there with you dudes. I felt so good. I was so stoked on the weekend and just how everything came together. It was unreal. The amount of seat time, the quality of drivers. And dude, to pull up the grid and you see Vaughn and Forsberg in the pro line, then jump over into the middle line and they're chasing the Skittles train and they pull back. It's like these dudes and everybody was so down to drive with everybody that you could see Osbo handing me a stock E30 out there. You don't get to experience that anywhere else. It's something cool to see 2 levels of driving put together and everybody's just down to go.
Paco,
Yeah.
do you want to tell us about your favorite tandem train situation, or I should say all of our favorite tandem train situation we kept on seeing with Taylor Hull?
Well, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say because obviously the best tandem trains were provided by Top Garage with the Skittles team Skittles.
Team Skittles, as we
They
named
were
them.
killing it
They were killing it all weekend, and the best thing is that Taylor Hall, who was driving his 1970 something Plymouth Duster, he was pretty much tailing them at the very end. So everybody's
tailing, he was mixed in between. So it's funny. There's S15 or S14, S15, S13, S13, S14,
Duster,
S13, S14, and it's like if someone was trying to fit in. It's like there's the.
But it's funny because it was also the black Duster, so it was the least one that will pop from the color. So it's day 3 Gridlife. They still haven't noticed I'm not a 240.
It was silly. Yeah, but he said that the underpinnings of that car are pretty much 240, as most people do when they convert odd, weird cars to drift cars. They kind of grab a bunch of 240 parts because there's so much support for them. But that car was definitely sick. And yeah, back on the topic of just overall overview, I should say, is the smoothness and the clarity of operations this year was definitely much more apparent compared to the years last, because I'd say the first 2 years almost like practice years. It's like when we first started the show, we recorded 3 episodes before we even released one because we wanted to see what was up, and it's like you don't have any practice events, you got to just do them. But this year finally felt like the fully realized vision, and of course it's only going to grow from here. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's behind the scenes from my perspective, there's always a ton of stuff more that I would like to accomplish, or things that didn't quite come to fruition, but with every event, it's always all right, I'm going to produce the best event with the most details as possible, and get as far as I can. And, Gridlife is very much basement built, so it's a kind of scale as we go type thing. We, basically, put as much in as we can for that experience, while still kind of teetering on the edge of sustainability.
Yeah, as I say, you're always trying to make money, but it seems like that's much lower on the totem pole, the priority pole of priority pole. That's what we call it. And then making sure everyone has a good, awesome time. Because at the end of the day, that's what's really interesting about you and the event is that you're not doing this to make money. And it's you're trying to make your house payments because you remortgaged your house to make these events happen. But it's
it's true.
You're out here to throw the coolest, sickest events for everyone rather than trying to make a buck. And maybe someday, I really hope someday, Chris, you get rich off this. But I know right now your goal at the end of the day is to not lose your house. And
yeah, and I think we're definitely like a few steps away from that risk. After year one, and I've like told that story a few times in a few different places. But yeah, when we went to Road Atlanta for the first time, basically like a week into it, we had such a shortage of cash to actually open the gates that I took out a big loan to make it happen, just in the hopes that like, all right, I heard this was a walk-up market. Here goes nothing, and just just to kind of make it all happen because we said we would, and there was like kind of the debate on like, well, do we walk away from this? Do we like, cut our losses, or do we finish the party? And I think the choice was pretty clear. And like, I don't know, me as an individual, like I get something kind of in, if I take risks, but my risks are pretty calculated. And, I also like try to follow through with everything that I proclaim and operate on well calculated hunches. So yeah, I mean, I like felt good about planting the seed. I wanted to like, just deliver the best party that we could that first year, and prove to everybody that was there, and not prove, but like just give them the best experience possible, because I knew if it came together at even a 75% of what was envisioned, people would leave and be like, all right, I'm coming back next year, and I'm bringing Steve. Steve's coming with me.
Steve's here.
You gotta go to this event, man.
That's why we wanted to talk to you for a full show, because we've had you on before a little bit and just to do promos before we went out there to do our thing. But there's such an interesting story of the events and you as a person, because like you're this well calculated, intelligent dude that is a doer. You obviously do 1,000 things and wear 1,000 hats, but you're also a giver, and that you're here to give this thing to people that I don't know if there was a huge demand or a bunch of people asking for this, and it's like, I'm going to do this thing, and people are going to show up and love it, and they're going to see if they love it, and Steve is going to know. We're going to bring Steve out here, and then Steve's going to bring
Daryl.
Danny. He's going to bring Danny next year, and then
Chad.
Danny's going to tell Susie. They're all going to be here, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Like, Gridlife's not for everyone, and it's not for everyone who likes motorsports, but, I mean, there's a lot of times where, I mean, the driving force behind it was really like producing the event that I wanted to attend, that all my friends could attend too. And what I mean by that is like I come through track racing and motorsports and HPDE and track days and Lemons races and all that type of stuff, and I have tons of friends in the drift world and in the car show world, but there was never an event where like everything that we were all into was represented well, and a place where we could, all hang out together. And that was really the driving force about it, was like trying to build something that had as minimal us and them and as minimal separation as possible, that all of my friends could come to. And I mean, I think the mission statement's a little bit more robust than that, but that's the the premise of it all is like, I don't want anyone who comes to the event, regardless as to what piece that they're coming for or participating in, feel like they're a part of a different event. They should all feel like they're part of one singular event, one experience together, and that they can, experience the things they don't know about, and, see things that they might not have seen, and vice versa. All with all without separation. And I've been to events like even track days where it's like, oh yeah, the drifting's over there in that parking lot, and like the car show's over there on this other section. And with Gingerman, it's easy to just jam all the stuff together and have everything kind of have one foot in the other pool, or like create a Venn diagram, if you will. So that's really it. Automotive enthusiasm as a whole, and celebrating all of it in small capacity, at a true festival production, like something that you build as a destination that you want to travel to and spend multiple days in and not be bored after an hour.
Would you say that you've garnered this sense of inclusionness and all that from seeing 200 plus fish concerts?
could be. Yeah, could be. Well,
What's the actual number?
I lost like 232 or something
Holy
like
shit.
that.
It's a great
So
number.
for those
Wow.
that aren't aware, for all of our listeners that are of an age that don't know what the band Fish is, or you just don't know what the band Fish is, there's a band, and there's a bunch of people across the world that. What do you call yourselves, Chris? Is there a name for what you do?
Fisherman.
I believe that some people call themselves fish heads.
Fish heads.
I
Anyways,
don't know if I adopt that title.
Yeah.
I just happen to like fish.
Yeah, but you go around and you go to hundreds of their concerts, and this is like this family thing that people do, and they just see the band hundreds of times across their lives because the band is just constantly touring and constantly just doing like jam band wheedly stuff. And most people, I think, maybe you could tell me better, Chris. I think most people do that as as kind of like a drug experience. I think that enhances the thing. Is that if you're really high on but you're Stone Cold Steve Austin. You don't do none of that.
That's true. I mean, I think not to like turn this into Maximum Fishcast.
Maybe we should do that. Maybe
Hey.
that's the episode.
Which is probably actually a podcast somewhere.
I imagine, yes.
But I mean, I think the appeal of that and just music in general. So like in the context of like, the amount of Fish shows that I've seen, it's like it's part of like a thousands and thousands of concerts that I've seen as a whole. So it's not just like I see a band. It's like I was very, very into music and still am. So saw a lot of shows of every genre, and have been to a lot of festivals, and that was probably I have like a bunch of different hobbies, but I like cars a lot, and cars were one of my hobbies, but music was another really big hobby. So Fish was just a reason to like travel, and as I saw more and more shows, there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of like technical things and nerdy shit that can be applied to the band Fish, where you start.
They're all about performance too. They do a bunch of weird on-stage antics and.
Yeah, and they have a catalog that's 300 songs plus, and like they don't have set lists, and you never really know how the show is going to shape up, or like what this version of this song is going to sound like. So you start diving into those details, and it's easy to like kind of enjoy nerding out on those types of things, and like being able to pick out what like a song played in '98. Why it's different from the same song played in 2004 on the fall tour versus the summer tour. So like, I don't know, you can dive deep into that just like you can with anything. So it's just and then you start to learn about it, and you just get kind of sucked into it. But mostly it was like me and my buddy Luke, who's one of my my dearest friends, and also we do a lot of car stuff together, and started our original event, Honda Meet, together, and it was just our excuse to like get out in the summer. So I mean, go drive to see a few Fish shows, but then take breaks in between and like see what was in those areas. So that I would have never like gone to 44 states by car if I didn't have like a destination or a reason to go. So it was just part of kind of the fabric of travel at a particular period in my life.
I was gonna go way back in the time machine, Paco, but let's answer these super chats, huh?
Oh yeah, well before I have a question after the super chat questions, so let's just shoot those.
Yeah. So I'll do Paco's question, and I want to go way back into the time machine and talk about where this all began, even past the Fish days. But we have YouTube super chat open. People can give us a little sugar, and that sugar will then directly translate into questions for Chris. And this is a very hot question from Aaron Quilas, and he says, Chris, how many hot dogs can you fit in your K-van? Now, for those that don't know, Chris is a fan of tiny, weird import cars.
Hey, Aaron. Aaron is a good buddy of
That's how you pronounce that?
Of mine from back in the Honda Meet days. So let's see. I wish I really knew the cubic footage of what can fit in the K-van, because it's quite impressive. It works as my trailer, so I know that it will fit two 10x10 tables, or two 10-foot tables, a 10x10 booth, and 1,800 pieces of merch inside of it. So I think that translates to 368,000 hot dogs.
Wow.
With their bun or without?
Very
bun?
accurate.
This is full Chicago style.
Okay.
All the fixins. So this is 368,000 hot dogs with sport peppers, a full pickle, dyed green relish, poppy
Dyed
seed,
green relish is my jam.
mustard,
Corey and I are
onions.
blushing here.
tomato slices, but no fucking ketchup.
Yeah.
What? Hold on.
Yeah, no ketchup, just mustard.
I know I get the Chicago dog style, but come on, dude, ketchup.
No.
Hear me out.
Okay, here, let's hear it, Sam.
Ketchup.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wanted to mess my hair up real good and do the aliens guy, the ketchup.
Ketchup.
And then this is a question that I know will be asked 1,000 times probably in the Gridlife Instagram comments, and you get asked this every event, I'm sure. Paul Velichkov says, when will we see Gridlife West?
Oh man, when will we see Gridlife West? So I think the best description of like where Gridlife is headed or the speed in which it is headed is we are following the Oregon Trail model. So
You're gonna get dysentery soon.
right, yeah.
You're
I mean,
gonna
I
shoot
think
100 buffalo and then
yeah,
not
I think,
need
I
all
think
the.
right, yeah, you hit on it earlier, Sam, just talking about like what is the intention, and sustainability over profitability, I think is kind of the motto, so we want to make sure that wherever we take Gridlife, it absolutely can exist as Gridlife, and it's a Gridlife event. So, there's a cautionary tale in moving too quickly, and making sure that we can bring. It doesn't need to be the biggest event. It's not about the size. It's about the vibe, and it's about the feel. So we want to make sure that we can bring that feel and that vibe and to the West Coast proper. So it's not about the fastest move or doing it before someone else or whatever. We want to make sure that we've got kind of all the pieces of the puzzle, or all the ingredients of the soup, so to speak.
Yeah.
Before
So
before we make that jump, and we're gonna wait for the raft, right? We're not gonna carry more meat than the wagon will allow, and we're gonna make sure that the cover doesn't get holes in it before we take that journey. So a long-winded and philosophical answer.
You're not forging the river. You're waiting to build the raft.
Correct. But the raft's looking pretty good.
Okay.
So I'll say that.
Yeah.
We've been building the raft for 5 years in total. 3 years at Road Atlanta, like we just spoke about. But in reality, Gridlife, in some form, or at least the bones of it, have existed since 2004, which was the year that we produced our first track day. So it's been a long haul, longer than people realize. And it's I was talking earlier about this whiteboard that's over here in the office that I'm sitting in, and there's some bullet points about Gridlife West on here. There's a Gridlife West with an underline and
Question mark underlined.
yeah, no, there's like 6 bullets underneath it from what I can see, so that's pretty good.
Well, that should answer your
Wow.
question pretty well, Pauline. And I imagine this will not be the last we will hear those words, Gridlife West, put together from the sound of your answer.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're doing a lot of like adjustments, and I think our Aaron can attest that like we're always evolving, from how we run Time Attack and the different pieces of programming and stuff that we're trying, and when it comes to like naming conventions, that's one of the things that we've talked about is it's not Midwest, South, West, East, but it's these events that start to take on the characteristics of the track, the environment, and the region that they exist in. So the names might change, a little bit, and the experiences will change. So the more Gridlifes that exist, we need to make sure that experience is unique, so that you got to catch them all.
Pokemon reference.
Hey.
All right, Paco, what you got for the boy?
Well, I was gonna go back to the past on how
Let's take it way back.
yeah
Let's throw
how
back.
How your parents make fun?
How do your parents make fun?
Was that question, Paco?
not that long ago, but
Oh,
I was
okay.
gonna ask how did Chris Stewart became a gearhead that suddenly one day said like, you know what, I want to throw racing events.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give like kind of the quicker version of this.
Oh no, take
you
your
know,
time. We got all night, man. We're gonna be here till 4 a.m. You got nothing to
You got
do.
nothing to do, dude.
nothing to do at all. I gotta head on the road to get to go Watkins Glen in the morning.
Ooh.
But and I'm also on Central Time, so there is that to consider. But yeah, how did I become a gearhead? So I grew up in Detroit. I'm in Chicago now, which is where Gridlife is headquartered. So Midwest, born and raised. But being from Detroit, you would think that I like had an automotive heritage, but it wasn't really the case. I didn't get into cars, and I actually didn't start driving until I was 19. So I got into cars. Kind of the same narrative that everybody else does, because I had some friends that were into cars. So I made reference to my buddy Luke previously, and he had an 88 and a half Escort GT. That was kind of the car. Like other people had cars, but we were always in that 88 and a half Escort GT. And I don't know how he got into cars, but it all kind of started with like, standard modifications. And I feel like there was a period of time where fog lights were like a really big deal.
Oh yeah, they were huge.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's
it was just like,
rally.
oh man, you got those pilots? Oh yeah, they got the
Yep.
blue tint, and it was like I just remember talking about fog lights, like spending days talking about fog lights, and then got into car audio, and then when I finally got a car, my first car was an '89 Civic LX, which I actually killed using motor oil additives.
Really?
Excessively, and blew that car up. But
Wait, how does one do that? I gotta know.
I think when I bought it, it was an oil burner to begin with, and I was like, motor honey. Yeah, I'll just like get a case of this.
Was it one of those like weird ones that like some guys selling out behind AutoZone? It's like, yeah.
No, it was properly at AutoZone, but it was probably one of those products where you like turn the little gear and you're like, oh yeah, that does lube better.
It sure is.
It sure
thing-
does.
The thing is, like those additives and higher concentration, they pretty much become gunk.
Right. So yeah, I Luke had the Escort, and then I bought a Honda and fell into becoming a Honda guy. So I think it was just like when I started modifying cars, and I think I got in like deeper quicker than anyone else, like kind of in my circle, where I was picking up copies of Super Street and kind of diving deep into the parts list in the back, and like looking at all these things from my 89 Civic LX, and ultimately resorting to buying what I could from AutoZone. So a lot of LED washer nozzles and things of that nature.
Extreme early '90s tuning.
Adorned that car. So that was giving away my age a little bit, but that was late '90s. Yeah, like 98,
Yeah.
97, 98.
I mean, when I started, like the real mods were, you went to Home Depot and you bought some grill mesh for your Ford Probe GT.
Yeah.
You would do your sleepy eye mod by putting a momentary switch in your headlights. That way you could just have your headlights be completely functionless, but be a little bit tired looking.
Yep.
You could go to AutoZone and get the Cherry Bomb muffler.
Man, I remember like the GTO headlight covers that you could buy, and my buddy Ryan had a Cavalier Z24.
Oh,
Now we're talking.
yeah.
And one for Paco's heart, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and,
I'm sure.
And that was hot shit. I remember like driving to Fish shows and other concerts at a sketchily high rate of speed in that car, and just think
peaked out at 90.
fast. God, that Z24 just, it
Ripped.
must have, it clearly ran nines, clearly.
On the 8, maybe on the
Right.
8 mile.
Yeah, and then my first like real tuner car after I killed the Civic LX with Motor Honey and other things was in 91 CRX HF, a car which I still own.
What?
So I
Damn.
bought that in 1997. It was a California car. It was white with blue interior, 57 horsepower motor. But I thought, like that was it. I got my CRX and like that was the car that I wanted, and I finally got it. I think I was 19 when that happened. Ultimately, like the evolution was as as I just got more into it, I started getting summer jobs started paying more, and I started wasting more money on that car and like adding more things to it. And then I think there was a couple of incidents. One, there was like a storm that hit my house and like blew the shingles off and like ended up scratching up the paint. So like the next day I was out there with the shingles, just whipping them at the car, making an insurance claim to try and get a full repaint. And then somehow I convinced the body shop where I like paid extra to like get the Wings West kit as a part of that repaint.
No way.
So that was all like an insurance setup to get the Wings West kit, and I like rolled around with like a 57 horsepower motor,
Super
Wings
wide.
West kit, stock suspension,
Hell yeah.
clipped taillights for like a year and a half.
Does anyone have the number for Chicago police or Detroit police for insurance fraud? Because you owe some people a Wings West kit.
Yeah, that's $700 worth of urethane right there.
Dude, I want a Wings West kit so bad.
Man, I still have parts of that kit on the car as well. But so I like got the Wings West kit, and like, man, that was hot shit. And then I went to this event called the Niagara CRX meet in Niagara Falls, which was a CRX only meetup. And that was the first time I like saw a CRX special edition. It was the first time I'd ever seen like a B16 swap, and there were ZC swaps there.
I was gonna ask when you got that B motor.
Yeah, and I met this guy named Steve Guth, and his I think his buddy's name was John, and they were autocrossers. So John had a really clean 89 DX maroon that had a B16 swap, and Steve had a first gen, which now we call the Steve Gen amongst my friends. So the Steve Gen CRX, so like an 87 or an 86, and I somehow convinced them to help me with a B16 swap. So I saved all my money from my summer internship, and I was going to school for graphic design, and I had a design internship at a shipping manufacturer that did all the, now that's what I call music distribution. So I was like making all these weird promos and like flyers, and like saving all of my dollars, but really I was like spending all my time searching for parts, and I like, how did I get that first motor? I don't even remember if I like paid to have it shipped in or if I like ended up going to Canada to get it.
Imported from Japan.
It was imported from Japan, but I think I drove to Canada, to Toronto, because I was from Detroit, to get it, and then like brought it back in like the hatch of the Escort or something like that.
I finally found your car on your Instagram from 2014. Sick. Has it changed from the 2014 Instagram version?
Which one is that? So
it looks like a dark. It doesn't have a C West kit or a Wings West kit or not. That's for sure. It's just a black CRX.
No, that's my current CRX. So that's my second CRX. So that one I brought in recently. I bought it in 2014, and it's basically, that's an 87 right-hand drive SI that I had imported because I was looking for a stock CRX because I ruined my other one. So I just wanted like the CRX to like have. Yeah. And ultimately, it was almost easier to just have one brought in than it was to find one that hadn't been bastardized. So
now,
anyway,
before you continue real quick, did you ever try to drift your CRX?
I wasn't into drifting. I didn't. It wasn't something that was like in my peripheral at all. I was kind of into just the general Honda scene.
Okay.
And obviously the same story as everyone else who was in the scene when Fast and the Furious came out that like kind of changed the game. And I was doing this in Detroit, and then I moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is on the west side of the state, and that's where I went to proper college, post community college, at Kendall College of Art and Design for graphic. I think it was called Visual Communications, which is essentially just marketing and graphic design. And my buddy Luke moved there with me, and he bought an '89 Civic, and then we started proceeded after that to like start to run shit in Grand Rapids. So I was like the only B16 swapped CRX or like Honda period in West Michigan, and we used to go to this place called Rogers Plaza, which was like the Friday night car meetup. And like I was, I had the hot shit. It was still on stock suspension, but I had that B16. And that's where I met like most of the current group of friends that are still my friends, that helped kind of start the Honda Meet events and ultimately help evolve everything into what Gridlife has become. So I remember we used to a good example of like how that group came together is like I met my buddy Lance because I like chased him down the street in his red CRX as he was pulling into a car wash, and he tells the story about how he thought he was going to get jumped.
You're just so excited to see it.
Yes, just wanted to say nice car.
Yeah.
So we would like track down people and like leave notes on different CRXs and different EF hatches, and ultimately started a forum called EF Honda, which became one of the largest like chassis specific Honda forums, and like the friend group kind of grew from there. And then as like the automotive enthusiasm evolved, one of my buddies, Peter, had an EM1 SI, so a 99 SI, and he was getting into like, basically like JDM race parts was like the style he was chasing. So I remember like Honda Meet 4 was the first event that was a track day, but Honda Meet 1 or 2 was the first event that Peter got his spoon wheels, and he had spoon wheels and he had Falcon Azenuses, but they weren't on the car yet. They were on the picnic table at the meet, just like the tire and the wheel, and ultimately like Peter's like kind of aesthetic decisions to like build more of like a JDM track style car is what got us all into tracking. So, we...
I like how you did it the other way around, though. The fact that you were like, all right, we want the track aesthetic. And like, now that we've got all the track aesthetic, we might as well track these things.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think at that time, like, Honda Challenge was coming out, and there was this other group called Team Toilet out of Kalamazoo. So Team Toilet was a group of, like, Honda guys that were tracking their cars, and, at that time in 2004, 2002, 2003, there wasn't a lot of places to go track your cars. So you were running with, one of the bigger sanctioning bodies, or you were running with like Porsche Club or BMW Club. So the name Team Toilet came from the fact that everybody just said, why are you guys driving those toilets at our racetrack? And there wasn't like a community around like, Honda racing or, younger oriented track days. It just... it wasn't really a place to be. And I had run a few different track events, and then, all of our friends we figured out you could rent a racetrack, and we rented Gingerman Raceway on a Monday, and that was the first track day.
That was the birth of all this, in essence?
Sounds pretty much like that's what it was.
We rented that on a Monday, and then kind of, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. With all honesty, and ultimately, the first event, we didn't like make any money, or I think we barely like broke even, and kind of made it through the first track day, but it was rad, and then we just kept doing that, and that ultimately like grew into and organically grew into a community of younger track enthusiasts. Which ultimately birthed Gridlife, just because that event grew and got not too big, but it was like I started thinking about I should do other days, I should do more events, and I was going to do more Honda specific events, but ultimately ended up like branching out and creating Gridlife, so that everyone else could experience motorsports enthusiasm like I had. So
yeah. Well, tell us about Gridlife numero uno, because you did these Honda events that I imagine kept on growing in popularity and size, and then Gridlife number 1. How did that begin?
Gridlife number 1. Gridlife is kind of just a glued together experience based off of all the stuff that I'm into. So day job currently is Gridlife. which I'm very lucky that I'm able to do this and focus on it full time. But my job up until that point was I worked in advertising, so I'd been kind of climbing the advertising ladder, and was getting a little bit more of a strategic mind about how to deliver experiences, whether those be online or in person or through a TV ad or whatever. So that definitely was a piece of an important piece to note in regards to like thinking about how like why all these pieces and why Gridlife. Gridlife year one. Again, I talked about it a little bit earlier. It was just like, how do I get all these people to come to the racetrack? Like, I love coming to the racetrack. I think track days are rad. How do I get more people to like get into this sport, or how do I get my friends to come to the event that I put on? Because I know that they're blasting down the highway and going to Steak and Shake on a Friday, and it's like, 10,000 people at this car show, and they just park for 2 days. But we have these cars that are moving. I think that's cooler. How do I like figure out how to get like all those people to come to this racetrack and see how cool this is? So the strategic vision was like, I was doing a bunch of stuff in music as well, and obviously a big fan of music, and a big fan of music festivals. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna like glue all this together with kind of a festival. Yeah, I'll do that. And I'll get all my friends all my DJ friends from Chicago, which were the first year, was a pretty stellar lineup for Gridlife year one. We had Kurt from Flosstradamus, and then Willie Joy and Zebo, who were both really big in Chicago at the time. And obviously Flosstradamus is much bigger. But like Flosstradamus played Gridlife year one, and like people ask when you're gonna bring Flosstradamus to Gridlife, and I was like, we already did that. You missed it. you blew it. I remember like talking about the concept, and I think the first time I like spoke about it, Gridlife year one was 2014, and I think I talked about it in like 2011 or 2012. I was like, I want to make an event that like like has all these different things and this and that. And I remember people just saying like, no, there's no way, like these groups aren't going to get along. Car show guys aren't coming. It's just not going to work. It will not, it won't come together. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I think so. I think I can make something happen. And I was looking back at like promo ads just recently as I was kind of digging through the archives and like the mission statement. I won't repeat it because I won't remember all the details of it, but it was strange. It wasn't even called Gridlife Music and Motorsports Festival. It was Gridlife Auto Fest, and it was like some statement like a new level of automotive immersion or something along those lines. Yeah. And I hadn't been into like drifting at all. I started working with I talked to, it was like that year that I got introduced to Simba from Club FR. And I was like, hey, I think I can convince this racetrack. I could convince Gingerman to like allow us to do full course drifting, because we had been producing all these Honda Meet events. And at that point, Honda Meet was Gingerman's biggest event. That was an event that was selling out, in a couple hours every year. And it would bring, 1,000 people to the track just for a track day. So I was like, I think I can convince Gingerman to allow us to do full course drifting. If I can do that, do you think you can put together like a crew of guys that would be into it? And it was like, of course, Simba was like, yeah, I definitely think we can put together some folks. And Simba is, one of the heads of Club FR, responsible for Final Bout, and a bunch of other things in the drift community. So that was kind of the introduction to drifting, was my introduction to Simba, and basically saying, hey, I got a rad track. What do you think we can do together? So that was that piece of it, and then I pulled all my friends. I was like, hey, you guys want to do me a favor and like play this like little car party that I'm putting together? And I convinced, Kurt from Floss to do it. And then like the stage from year one was so tiny. It was like, it was the exact same stage that we had as our second stage, the car show stage this year. So exact same one, which is like 1/3 the size of the stage we have now. I just remember like pounding the ground and like trying to hustle to get the word out for that event. Yeah, I mean, it still was like met with a lot of like skepticism. I mean, I think that the core track guys were like, we're in, because they, were essentially the community and my family on that side of the house. So like we had a good track day, regardless. It was definitely very difficult to like get a good car show and even get, I mean, I think the drift field was pretty good, but it was like 15 cars, like 15 drivers. It was a pretty small amount, so it's like trying to get that many people to like come out to this like new event. It was surprisingly challenging.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. It's tough to. How do they know it's the real deal? You got to prove. You got to show off one more time, like we said earlier with the podcast and with everything. It's like you got to be the real deal. People don't believe that you are going to keep making a weekly episode for 3 years now or more. I don't remember, or that you're going to be back next year, or that this thing won't just be an awful, harebrained, half-assed idea. You gotta show you can do it.
No, I think that there's like there's definitely like an animosity amongst the car community that we like that we have to like kind of battle against, and it still exists, especially like when we go to different markets to talk about like the South. The South is like way more skeptical than the Midwest about like the experience that we'll deliver, even after year 3, and I remember year 1 Gridlife Midwest was the same. It was like, is Foster Dramas really going to be there? And what events did you go to where they like blew it, because like apparently like people have had the the rug pulled out from under them in this community before, and I get that. I mean, there's plenty of event producers that their ambitions can't match their efforts. So I think going back to like the reason why I like took out a loan to make Gridlife happen is because I try to make sure that my ambition always matches my effort, and that I control that ambition to make sure that we can deliver what we say consistently. And that was the case with year 1, but we really had to prove it. The first year it was like 1,700 people or something ended up showing up for that event. 1,700 like a real number, not a promoter's number,
right?
Which are definitely two different things.
Yeah.
And again, the goal was just like, all right, I don't care how big this is. Like, I want to make sure that these 1,700 people like have a really good time. And I remember like the first year with the music, it's like I had a really good lineup. Like Show You Suck was like opened the stage, and it was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was a few people at the stage, but like people didn't know what to do. It's like they didn't know how to have a good time. It took forever for like people to like show up at the concert, and I was like, all right, this doesn't work. Like I've got I've got Zebo playing a really, really good, really good set here, and like nobody's here. And then as the sun went down and people like kind of wrapped up their post paddock, drinks and food, it like came alive, and I was like, okay, I get it. This is real. And I think Gridlife's kind of still the same way. We like program the music so that it actually happens after the track, stuff ends. So like the car community still behaves the same way. But it was definitely like a roll of the dice that year. And I built the whole first event. I built on a credit card. I like took all of my savings from my real job, and then everything that I had on my credit cards to make that happen, just because I wanted to see it happen, because I thought it could be a thing, and I wanted to, and I also do it.
That's the biggest thing,
like,
right?
I had to kind of finish that idea, and then coming out of that event, it was like, all right, am I going to do this again? I mean, it was definitely like a good time, so I think let's keep this rolling.
Did you have any outside finance, or was it just credit card debt?
No, it was just credit card debt. Gridlife has never had any outside financing, so we are singularly funded, and and that's that. It's all basement built, and
that's great though, because you really have no obligations to others. You can make it exactly what you want.
I don't even know if I would have known how to do that. At that time, it was like coming from the Midwest, I'm definitely like give me the hammer, kind of guy. And I can solve a lot of different things, and I have a relatively robust skill set, wide range of skills. So there's a lot of things that I can do. And I'm getting better at not doing everything, which is probably like, you talk about challenges, like one of the challenges, with having a vision and like being able to see the completion of it before you start it is like letting some of that stuff go, especially when you have like the capabilities to do it, when it comes to, things like the design and just the crafting of the different bits and pieces. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had to learn that in my career fairly recently as well, as I tackle these larger and larger projects that I never thought I would ever get to, as far as like the elevation of where I've gone with this. And it's like I've started by being judge, Judy, executioner on all my things, and then I'm starting to realize that like I really have to let go of some aspects. And of course, the people around are very trusted and very capable, but it's tough to let go of these aspects that you've controlled the whole time. And yeah, it's weird to see yourself going from like, I'm going to make some naval nerd terms here, from going to like ship's captain, where like you're running your own tiny ship, to like admiral
pirate
fleet, and you have to like send your butt pirate, and you got to send all these ships out, and they got to do their own jobs without you, and you just gotta trust the captains to do their work,
No, totally. I've been using the phrase you gotta give enough rope for people to hang themselves.
You gotta throw some ropes on people.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, it's been it's just been a little bit year after year after year, kind of adding to this, yeah. But it's definitely like it started from like a genuine desire to like get more people into motorsports. We always heard, I just followed kind of my own automotive enthusiasm, like from I guess a strategic perspective. And it's like, right, I started with washer nozzles and stick-on stuff. And then, like somehow fell into motorsports and autocross. And actually I've never really autocrossed, so that's a lot. But like
you're a Honda parking lot kid. It's
cool. got into track racing, and like, I think people who are into cars like sometimes reach a point where they don't go any further, right? And I don't think everybody should be into track racing. That's not the purpose of it. But I think there's a lack of exposure or a lack of, like people think you have. I remember like hearing all the time. It's like, oh, I can't. I'm not gonna go out. I'll be ready for a track day when I like get these. When I get this motor swap, or when I get this turbo, or when I like finish this piece of the project, and all those types of things. And I think. We just wanted to show that like it's not that challenging, and there is a place for you to get into these things, and it's not just us, So like, our whole goal, is not to like make Gridlife big. We don't really want to be like a sanctioning body. We just want to expose as many people that have car curiosity to motorsports, and to the next step of automotive enthusiasm. So if they so desire, they can get into that world, whether it be through us or the SCCA or Club FR or Autocross Joe's or whatever. I think a lot of people that like claim to be car guys, car girls, never see that stuff. They never see drifting. They never see track days. They like almost might not even know that it exists, or it's like such a segmented and separated world that like they don't consider it. So
like you said, like you were just on is like in cars and in life, and I try to think of this whenever I can remember to think about it, is like you should never put those pre-existing conditions on things like, oh, I'll do this once this happens. Like my car will be ready for the show after I get that new hood, or I will be ready for the track once I can get these new wheels. It's like, oh, and anything in life is like, I will not do this until this is ready, and that can easily stack up and cause you to never go out of your shell or your comfort zone or anything. Because that's what kept me from waiting until I was 25 to buy my drift cars. Like I won't do this until I am financially ready. I won't do this until I have a garage. And I was like, fuck it, I don't have the money. I don't have the garage. I've got a mom who's got a garage, and I can beg. It's like, like if you would have waited for that first Gridlife event, it's like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I have enough money to pay for it. I'm gonna wait until I have enough whatever relationships required to do it. I bet the show would have never happened. The fact that you went out on a limb and got this credit card debt, and you could have failed, and a lot of people that do this do fail, and we all can fail, and no doubt there will be successes and failures down the road. But I always try to remind people, and myself most of all, that you shan't wait for those conditions to be fulfilled to do something new.
Right. No. And I never like consider myself necessarily like an entrepreneur. Like I still don't describe myself that way, but like I'm definitely like an executioner. So like,
Cool.
even if it was like, you know, different car projects or like different, ideas or like websites or, design stuff or like things that I wanted to do, it's like, oh, I got an idea. I think I 60% know how to do that. So let me like do that 60% and then figure out another 20 so that it's 80% good, or whatever. So like that's applied to a lot of different stuff that I'm into, and it's like I don't know, I've got a ton of different like odd hobbies and strange things that I do that like it's not like I was I was born into those things or like had somebody show me. I just found it interesting and figured it out. So yeah, I mean, I've always just done stuff. If I have an idea and I believe in it, I kind of push for it.
Do the thing, man. Just do the thing, whatever it is. Go ahead and do it. Stop sitting on your dick. Do the thing.
Right. Or
Do
like,
it.
I don't know. That's like, it seems like kind of cliche entrepreneurial speak, but it's like,
It beats not
it's
doing
like,
the thing. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's like, I want this, like I set goals, look at what you want to do and then figure out, is there a path towards it, and maybe it's not a direct line. There's like multiple steps to it, but like, I don't know. Yeah, just do the thing, like you said.
Yeah.
By the way,
Corey and Paco?
Adam Jabay just joined us on the chat, so I guess
Hey, Adam. And Adam, yeah, tell us about Adam's role, because he was hopefully going to be here with us today, but he's been there helping you as the right-hand man a lot of this way, hasn't he?
Yeah, Adam and I have never not produced an event together. So, I really wanted Adam to be able to join me on the podcast, and it almost happened, but he had some dad stuff that required him to
Gotta take priority.
Yeah, so he had to like abruptly leave to like dad it out. But yeah, Adam's been he's produced every single event with me, and I guess I use the term produced loosely. Produced is definitely what we do now, but like back in 2004, we weren't producing shit. We were just hanging out, and I met Adam because I think I think we left a note on his car because we had a bunch of used D-Series transmissions for sale, and we asked him, like, the note said, "Hey, need any Honda parts?" And then it like had a phone number on it. So Adam, had I think he had like a standard or a DX hatch, I can't remember, which he still owns as well, which is his race car, and then Adam came to our first Honda meets, which were just like parking lot picnics, and was at every other event since. So I don't know. Adam is now our motorsports director. He runs everything trackside. And
he is hustling. Like while you are hustling in the like captain's tower, you could call it whatever, in the captain's RV, he's on the ground getting super filthy in the pits and yelling at drivers to go here and not go there. And
yeah, I mean, like Gridlife could not function, would not be where it is, and certainly wouldn't be the well-oiled machine that it is today without Adam. And Adam, very much like myself, is also a give me the hammer kind of guy. I think most of his pants actually have hammer loops on them.
Same with Paco.
Yeah. I mean, Adam is definitely got a Midwest hustle like I do as well. So we always just like did the events together. So Adam slowly, I think originally we were all kind of doing all the things. Adam got a little bit deeper involved in motorsports as a whole when I had a moped excursion. So there was like a period of time where I wasn't that into cars. I still was into cars, but when I moved to Chicago, keeping a car in the city, which I still live in the city, was a little more difficult, and I got into motorcycles and mopeds for a period of time. But Adam had gotten more into motorsports. He was starting to do wheel-to-wheel stuff, doing a lot of SCCA stuff, and ultimately kind of fell into trackside and started to manage that fully, which is what he does now. Like the schedule, making sure the drivers get maximum seat time, making sure that everybody's stoked, and everybody's safe, is all the things that are on Adam's plate. and he's damn good at it.
Yeah, I didn't meet one driver that didn't say they're having the time of their lives, except for maybe the dudes that totaled their cars. But I didn't get to talk to them. But I imagine they were still pretty pumped up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Road Atlanta has a tendency to.
It's a huge A level, AAA level, not AAA level. I don't know. It's the highest level of road course in the world, and people I think forget that at times, and they go for broke on their first few laps, or even just you're a skilled driver and you're in this high end car and shit happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like a lot of the cases with this weekend. There was a couple of cars that it's just they're kind of not rookie drivers, but a couple of maybe rookie moves or just unfortunate circumstances, like turn 12 in particular. Like if you,
it's unforgiving, man. And that's the 12 coming into the straight, right?
Correct. Like if you take a dip, two wheels off and you try to save it, chances are you won't. So. But yeah, I mean, even with that type of stuff, it's Adam is always the purveyor of good times when it comes to the trackside things, and I think those people were bummed this weekend, but everybody was safe, which is of utmost importance. And I think everybody still had a good time with the at the event, and yeah, I mean, I think on that note too, like Gridlife has a lot of like. Road Atlanta eats cars regardless of the event, whether it's Gridlife or something else. Gridlife just happens to have a lot more people snapping the snaps of the things that down.
Well, everyone's pumped and stoked, as they can tell you, and that mental condition is definitely a big aspect. Your aura, your corazón en fuego, as Paco likes to say, right?
Sure.
That has a large effect on your track behavior, and when you're pumped on seeing 1,000 cars hitting the track in front of you and all these drifters going door to door to door, like you might try to get a little silly. It's like doing burnouts in the In-N-Out parking lot, or in your case, the Steak and Shake.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's. We do, and I think we do a really great job of it, of like keeping everybody pretty level-headed, and that's another reason why when we do multiple day events, right? So like you don't really have the feeling like I got to get it all in right now. I'm gonna like run out of track time. It's like you can ease into it, you can take it easy, and you can kind of run at your own pace. And I think the biggest thing that we try to push, and it gets tougher to manage too, as like when we look at the time attack side of the house, is like. Gridlife started, as like laps for fun, and timing is for fun, and all that stuff, like was constantly like fun first, no pressure. And I still think it definitely like pushes that vibe, and we try to keep that top of mind. But the competition, in time attack has gotten, more intense. So we work really hard to like. Make sure that people are reminded that this is fun first, and that this is a hobby, and that these are your friends, and that there's a larger community that you're a part of. So it's like keep it competitive, but keep it not competitive.
Keep it chill, dog. Have fun.
Yeah. Keep it chill. Like Adam and I, we were talking about this earlier today. Like what's getting into business speak, like what's our product? There's a lot of events that do track days, and there's other events that do drift and things like that. But our product is vibes. Mm-hmm. That's what we produce. We produce a feeling and an experience, and it happens to have all these other components. But like that's what's first and foremost is that experience and that feeling. So, to talk about like what's next for Gridlife, it's not like we do drifting and we do this and we do that. No, we produce a feeling. And whatever needs to be added or whatever needs to evolve to maintain that feeling, that's what Gridlife does.
Yeah, that's what makes it special.
Who came up with the name Gridlife? Was that you?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
I think it's
sweet. I don't know how it
sweet.
came up with that name. I wish I had like a really elaborate story about like how it hit me in some particular environment, or it's just like kind of was birthed out of like a marketing exercise, I think.
Named after his great grandmother, Grandma Grid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was just thinking about, Gridlife. I think we had a thing that we were working on. I was like doing these side hustles, outside of my agency work, and we were doing a bunch of stuff for Flostradamus and like doing a bunch of like album releases for a bunch of Chicago artists, and like my agency world, I worked on the tech side of things and the digital side, so I was doing a bunch of big activations for Hewlett Packard and like was kind of on the forefront of 3D projection and a bunch of other things and like interactive pieces. So I was like building these little products and these like different ways to like, I don't know, get people to interact with brands or interact with artists. And we were working on like a registration system essentially for the Honda Meet events. And, and then we were looking at platforming it. This is getting pretty nerdy, but we were looking at platforming it. Yeah, looking at platforming it into like being basically like a lap time / track day tracker and registration system to like, basically make event production a little bit easier. And I think ultimately like there was a lot of ideas that Motorsports Reg now has that were a part of that, but it was like kind of basically trying to build a social network for track guys and girls, and it was called To the Grid, and that was like the working title of it, and that is based off of like basically Adam saying intermediate drivers to the grid.
Go to the grid. Yeah.
So we were working off that title, and I think that what ultimately evolved into the name Gridlife. So we're thinking about race wars and race life and track land and track party and like all these other things. And then I think that the term Gridlife just came up. It's like it felt a little bit more all-encompassing and not like specific. Like it kind of has a vagueness and a wideness to it. That it can absorb a bunch of different things. Definitely motorsports, definitely track-oriented, but like isn't. The descriptor isn't in the name.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool that it's got life in there. Though,
Yeah.
It is. It implies that it's not it's not race wars.
It's everything.
It's the all-encompassing thing. Like you said, it's the vibe. You can't call it grid vibe. That sounds
Yeah.
kind of douchey. But if you call it grid life, it implies that it's about that vibe. But,
It's a little philosophical, if you may, but it does have a vibe.
Driftcast got real serious this episode.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you want a dick joke or what?
It's not like intended to sound philosophical, and like I think people probably think about it, read deeper into it than I do or did, because it never was like accompanied with like a catchphrase or like a statement like it's a lifestyle, like we never said that, it was just like that has a good flow to it. This logo looks good, mocked up. Gridlife it is. And that was that. And I think it had another title to begin with. I'll have to like look back in like my dead Facebook pages to see, what the previous title was. But there was another name for it. But I don't recall what it was. It didn't stick long.
Yeah. Corey, you've been quiet. What are you doing? Are you hungry?
Nope. I'm just sitting back enjoying the sweet, sweet velvety voice of Chris.
You got a live show, like just for you, baby. Just listening to all the facts.
No, so listening to obviously the story of this and kind of understanding and digesting all that. So now you show up to Road Atlanta. The pits are slam packed with people. You have a line out the door. You have tents surrounding the whole facility. How do you feel when you show up to now your events from now versus then?
You look down, you're not wearing any clothes, and you're fully erect.
Yeah,
What do you?
You're the donkey's out of the barn door.
Mm-hmm.
You're airing it out, and
Sorry,
you
you
just
told
look
me
out.
the show was too serious. I had to.
Yeah,
throw
no,
that
you gotta lighten that mood. Me as an individual, I'm not very reflective. That Midwest hustle kind of keeps me moving and keeps me working. So it's not very often that I like stop and pause and like kind of take a look at all the things that are happening and but it's pretty rad, and I think I don't know if I like I talk about goals, it was never like a goal to be like, oh, I want these drivers and I want it to be this big and I want all these partners.
I want
and
these podcasters as announcers.
Yeah, like it never was really that, anything like really specific like that. And I think coming out of Atlanta this year, like again, like just thinking about like, look at all these friendships that are forging, not just with myself and this new members of the community that I call my friends, but like look at all these other friendships that are being forged and these things that are kind of happening and I don't know, it's just really rad to see all these people interacting in that way around something that I enabled, or something that part of my efforts enabled, and yeah, I really got there's a video coming out on September 8th, which is a full 30-minute documentary that is produced by Crispy Media.
Is that the one that aired at the drive-in?
It is.
Okay,
it is the
cool.
one that
I caught a little bit. It was cool so far.
Yeah, we debuted it at Gridlife South, and it's easily like one of the best comprehensive visual captures of the soul of Gridlife, ever put together. And it basically like follows the entire experience from the beginning when you like first get to Gridlife and the setup, and then the on track, and then the party, and then the rain, and then the camping, and then the party, and then the tracking, and it has all these like little segments, like these little 7-minute vignettes that are very nicely tied up with a bow, each one of them, and it's kind of it kind of doesn't feel real in some capacities when I think about all of it, and like when I did Gridlife year one, I did not anticipate like it's not.
I did not.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I didn't do it.
Yeah,
it's not true.
I didn't anticipate like it's not about the size of it, but like just how much in how many hangovers it would give to people,
That was always the goal, right?
Right, like like how many people would anticipate it and like kind of build their their summers around it, or like plan trips to it, and like forge new friendships and produce rad content, and we speak about it like a platform, and like, hey, we've got a track for 3 days, like what do you want to do with it, and to see people like using it as such, like a place to reconnect with people, or get track time, or produce rad content, or just party. It's cool. Yeah. It's really, really cool.
Well, I'll tell you an experience. When we were heading to the airport, we were actually returning our rental car, and as we were pulling up, we parked another couple, and they were standing next to us, and we're unloading, and we kind of look at each other, and they were like, "Gridlife," and we're like, "Yeah," and they're like, "You, yeah." Like, wasn't it fucking awesome? Yeah. And they was like, "Where are you guys heading?" "Oh, we're heading back home to Colorado." "Oh, we're going back to Phoenix." "Sweet. See you guys next year." But it was this very weird casual encounter, like we've seen each other before, but we never have. But it was just like "Hey, what's up? Oh, you guys back? Cool. See you next year."
Yeah.
It's like when
you guys were there. You're at the shit.
Yeah. It's like when
Yeah.
It was really weird. It was actually a really cool experience, and it was like, once again, last thing you're doing before you get onto the airplane and take off, and that was I think that brings that weird vibe and that weird unity that even though you may have met these people before, you just gotta look, give a nod, and be like, "Gridlife, yeah, we were there too."
I just give like that nod, like look at each other, like I know, I know.
I'm with you on that.
That's rad. Like I think back to like the fish show thing, and it's like you see, even when you're like on summer tour, or like going from show to show, you like can see other people that are doing the same thing, and like you just feel that instant sense of connection, and I think that the same thing, like I've been to plenty of automotive events where I'm just at it. I'm at an event. I'm not like a part of the event.
Right.
Or I don't feel like I belong to the event, or whatever the case may be. And I think obviously you're going to have a better time at places where your friends are at, and it doesn't really matter. Like everybody hangs out in their circles, and like whatever your circle is doing is like kind of where home is. But I feel like we try really hard to be inclusive, and we want Gridlife to feel like the event that you're a part of, not the event that you attend. And I can't really speak to what the secret sauce is there, and I think there's definitely
there's many aspects. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I think there's some things that we're cognizant of as Gridlife goes from garage band to playing bigger theaters, so to speak. That we're treading lightly around, and making sure that, going back to that kind of Oregon Trail model, is like we have to protect the soul.
Right.
Of it all, and again, not to get too philosophical about it, but it's like it's what we think about. We think about like, what is the soul of Gridlife? What is the heart of Gridlife? And there's a bunch of different things that are that. We have a driver summit that's going to happen before our last round, and Gridlife, people think about it. It's weird, like the Atlanta event, people talk about it like it's a drift event. And the Midwest event, people talk about it like it's a time attack event with drifting. It sits inside of it. We do 7 events. We have a time attack series, and my background and the heart of it is all around track racing. So like I think when we talk about the soul of Gridlife is the drivers and the people who participate in it. So at round 5 we do a driver summit, which is essentially like a shareholders meeting. And we tell them everything that we plan on doing, either in broad strokes or in detail, and we get feedback and listen to people and chat about it, and we take all that stuff into consideration. We're not driven by, the wants and needs of the peanut gallery necessarily, but like all that stuff's important.
Yeah, it matters.
It's important to like listen to what people want, or what they desire, even if it comes down to like rule changes, or I want more track time, or I want less track time, or I want to be here on Thursday, or I want things that are more chill. We think about all that stuff, and as Gridlife grows, and more and more partners and other individuals kind of raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this sandbox. We're very, very careful about making sure that we do things that adds to that experience and like enhances that core, and is able to maintain kind of the soul of it all. So it's super important to us.
Well, it tickles me that in regards to the soul conversation that of course you already have Jared there as an announcer, and Jared's got enough soul if you let him loose. But the fact that you asked our silly little podcast hosts to be announcers there, because we obviously are not. Up until you asking us, we didn't have any professional announcing experience. But you're like, hey, whatever you saw in us, you're like, they could do this. They're not serious. They're enough, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it is you saw. I don't know what you saw. Why did you invite us? Why did we go there?
Why did I invite you? I thought that you guys. I think I told you, said this to you. Like the first time that I met you, I was like watching some of the Drift Idiot videos, and I was like, I kind of want to be friends with that dude.
The guy gets it.
So then I just bought your friendship.
Yeah, you said that you bought me a plane ticket because you wanted to hang out. Okay, cool.
No, I mean, I think that like, I can't like quite get into like all the details, or like, there's so much that I could talk about it, like the fabric of Gridlife and me and my group of friends, but like, there's definitely like things that I see in individuals, and I'm like, oh, those are my people. And I think for lack of anything else, when like listening to the podcast and like seeing the videos, Sam, that you had produced, and just the tone of things and like the brief interactions that I had with you, I was like, yeah, I think I can get along with these folks, and they kind of represent
the vibe, hopefully.
Yeah, I think you guys have a piece of that soul, right? There's an appreciation for like what Gridlife is, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it seemed to make sense in my mind, for you guys to be there, and I don't know, worked out for the most part.
Hopefully, it's still making sense, and we're so pumped that you keep on having us back. We've covered the driving. We've covered
The past.
drifting, the pretty much everything. Except for
origins.
partying. We haven't talked about we covered the origins.
But-
We haven't talked about the partying at Gridlife. How did that?
Ugh.
Did the people succeed this year? I actually took a little bit more of a minor role than I had in years past. I wasn't all drums and cymbals at the front of the train this time. I let some of the boys go on their own and go without Party Dad for some aspect of it. And I heard that some things went down after I disappeared from the head of the train. But how from before I give away any information that maybe you don't know, how did it go for you?
Don't tell me about it.
I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a party is a party is the byproduct of the event, you know. So I think what we've tried to do, you know, I think we've got it pretty dialed at the Midwest event, that's for sure. Where we try to keep everybody to the point where they take it up to an 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just hangs out there, you know, because there's plenty of events where people take it to 11, and it stays at 11, and then it goes.
It's got nowhere to go.
And it's getting
Or
it goes
up
to 12, and it goes to
12.
13, and it goes to 14, and then it's a total shit show. And you know, we definitely don't want to. And then there's other events where, like, you know, there's so much force and so much strictness that you know, that you kind of lose that aspect of it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that the party bullies thing, you know, as we've like officialized that, we were just talking about like different ideas that we have for that, where like I think
Oh, there you go.
that all happened naturally. Yeah.
No,
So
sure,
Party Bullies
Sam.
Party Club. So let's talk about the origins of the party bullies and the headaches and heartbreak and ultimately you know, like a celebration that it has now become. But like, yeah, I mean, basically, like the party bullies were birthed out of like a ruckus of golf carts that ransacked the campgrounds of Gridlife 2016.
All properly acquired, by the way.
2017. I think 2017 is when the party bullies term was coined, and it basically was you know, a squad of the drivers kind of running through and getting a little rowdy in the campgrounds at night. So
Yeah, and Sam.
and Sam, yeah. And, you know, as we like started to officialize that, I mean, I think that's part of the Gridlife experience, right? It's like, you know, it's the driving all day, and obviously that is, you know, has some structure and some definite rules around it, you know, and then it's the concerts, which kind of, you know, kick things off, and then it's the things that happen after, and those relationships and those interactions and like those good times that are had, you know, around the campgrounds and in the paddock and things of that nature, you know, and that's all part of the fabric of Gridlife. So I think, you know, we definitely want to celebrate that, and that's where the party bullies came from. So, you know, what we've tried to do is put a little bit of structure around that, and then mostly so that we can brand it and there's some accountability for you and your driver friends to feel like you shouldn't lines that you shouldn't cross.
I like how you just came up with this very long-winded and not untrue thing about the origins of it, but the origins of it were, I think, Chris and myself were sitting around the pits having beers, as everyone does after the events, and maybe there's a lot of other people there that I'm not thinking of at the moment because I was probably already a few sheets. But like, hey, let's go drive around the pits and take other people's beer because we're out.
Yeah.
And,
I think you first took Falcon's golf carts. So I think that's the first thing. I think that's the first thing that happens. You're like,
That
hey,
may or may not be.
we don't have enough golf carts for all of the shenanigans that we are planning. Let's take other people's golf
But
carts.
Here's what's responsible about the party boys, though, is that the golf carts all made it back under lock and key.
Yeah, no, we politely went to ask everybody, hey, can
And
we
the-
borrow your golf cart for the night? And they're like, oh,
That never
absolutely,
happened.
here's
But
the key.
The owners got them back in the morning just with a few empties inside.
Sure. Right,
And
right.
and a few broken tables and all that. Hopefully you can see. You might have to navigate me because I can't see on the camera when I'm turning around. But the back of the shirt, you see?
Oh yeah, you can see it. You
A
can
little
see
bit
it.
more to the right, Sam.
That's right.
There you go.
Hey,
Yeah. So it kind of became a thing of politely but forcefully going to people's camps and insisting they stop their games of drinking, usually beer pong, and insisting that they get to play Flip Cup, my game of choice, with all the drivers and myself and whoever else wants to play. And it's usually 10 to 15 to 20 people at a table with me yelling at the top of my lungs or a megaphone. Some girl like at Midwest a couple years ago had a megaphone, and that was a game changer. And
The megaphone is quite the game changer.
and then Paco bought me one, but unfortunately it's too big for me to take this trip. But and then we play Flip Cup, and then usually whether you win or you lose, you have to flip the table over. And then sometimes some individuals who will not be named, Shimon Benton Jr., will jump on the tables and break them. And Chelsea tried a couple times here. I think Forsberg may have tried, but he weighs 98 pounds.
This weekend, that was the most amazing thing I've seen. Forsberg trying to break the table,
I
and
wasn't
he
there
just
for that,
bounced.
man. See,
It
that's
just
what I'm
bounced
saying.
on it.
I stayed in the pits.
Break. No.
I heard that he jumped off like the bumper of a truck, and all 98 pounds of his body wasn't enough.
Doing.
Just bouncing off the table.
That's what happens when you're a vegan, dog. You don't got the girth. Sorry, Forsberg. That's not true. I believe in you.
I didn't
Sam,
know
next
Forsberg
time-
was vegan.
Yeah.
But he's a straight up plant eater.
Hey, Sam, next time you're going to suplex me
Man.
through a table.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
gonna say
gonna-
because
I'm
Corey
gonna pile
needs
drive
to
you right into
be
the
there for the table breaking.
The bowling.
But you were,
Oh, dude, I would-
you were feeling a little ill.
Corey, all you have to do is stand near the table, and the table's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
fit.
Yeah, I would suplex
Tail
something.
just gives up.
See, I'm gonna save it for next year because I'm gonna make my party bully debut, and we're gonna do it in a very good fashion.
I would like you to do that. You took off at like 7 p.m. every night. You were killing it on the track, and you got real sleepy.
Party
though.
foul.
There's no fouls.
Yeah, if you're not staying for the show, then you haven't been to Gridlife.
I know,
So.
but yeah, that's my favorite aspect. Of course, is the drifting's awesome because but drift days are common and concerts are awesome and I used to party a lot. Now I'm an adult, but
See,
to have all these three things mixed up at once is
Right.
Is what makes it really special.
So hold on a second. Let's break this down a little bit, Sam, because I think we really should start talking about this. Have you guys created roles for party bullies or any titles for individuals?
I guess I'd probably Chief Dickhead because I'm usually the guy that is telling people no, don't, stop, and trying to.
But I have chaperones now, so
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, but they like for example on this one they were looking at me and they're like, "Hey, is this okay?" And I was like, "Probably not."
Yeah,
And, like,
don't touch it. Don't fucking touch
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
See, I think I'd be the part.
I put that in on my anonymous staff feedback form, so I know how my chaperones are.
No, they did great. They made sure. As far as when I was there, we created a ruckus, but it was one where no one got killed. To my
So what's your title?
knowledge.
What would be your title?
I don't know, Chief Dickhead, I guess, because I'm usually the one yelling at people to pay attention to the
Jared-
rules of the game. Or
Jared
to tell
is
people.
Is what?
Sir Punch a lot.
Jared's their punch a lot. He slapped me in the face for no reason.
He does that to everyone.
I have it on the video. I'm trying to get it on the gram, and thankfully, Pistonhead Productions, Jacob captured that pit slap on video. He sent it to me, so I'm gonna get that up on the internet when I need to. That was we titled that face slap, the random face slap, the face slap that lost Jared Taco Bell. He was very excited about Taco Bell.
I have heard Jared's Taco Bell order, and it is stacked, man. That's
Oh,
like a
dude.
6-item order.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like I'm a 2 to 3 itemer, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
You-
safe.
you
3
do,
item.
do you do any hacks? You got any like favorite hacks of the bell?
I'm a cheesy gordita crunch fan. That used to not be on the menu. I think it is now. They even have the double cheesy gordita crunch on the menu.
Yep.
I think they took nacho fries away, but you can add nacho fries to to like a bean and a cheesy bean and rice burrito, and it's pretty fire.
Nice.
You
Not
can
heard
also
that.
add nacho fries into like a Crunchwrap Supreme.
Whoa! All right, now we're talking.
See, I just
Yeah,
add red
I mean-
sauce on everything. That's kind of like my go-to. Just red
yeah, red
sauce.
sauce
like-
and everything.
Yeah, but Corey, you're kind of like you like it takes forever for you to order Taco Bell. Like it's
Well, have you seen
it's
their
a
menu?
complex thing. You
Yeah,
can't
their
rush it.
menu is a fine piece of.
it is definitely
literature.
it is an acquired
Seven-
taste.
It's 7 ingredients rearranged.
acquired
into
skill.
6 items.
Also, shout out to the Buford Taco Bell, the slowest fucking drive-thru I've ever been to.
Yeah,
But
Night
anyway,
after night, like 5 cars in line, half an hour.
yeah, and they always get it wrong.
so
Always wrong.
Sam, I was
Maybe those cars in front of you were doing more sophisticated item hacks.
Nah, maybe.
so what do you think about the title, Sam? The Party Patriot.
I'm okay with that.
I think
Is
I'm
that
gonna
Sam?
be. I think I might be the party patriot.
Oh, you want to be the
for
parent?
next year,
You have to be there first, Corey.
No, I'm gonna make a debut. See, the thing is I've been strategically planning my debut where I'm gonna be like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but I'm gonna be operating it from the after party. So I'm gonna carry on a 2x4.
I like it.
I'm gonna carry on a 2x4 and a singlet. Just
Wait, was the chat has me confused? Was this because I forgot who was head chaperone? Was that Greg that was hanging out with us as head chappy? Yeah,
Greg, and I think Heath was around as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about the future of Party Bullies, which I can divulge all the details of how I want to see it go down and what I think we're going to do in the future. So
we had
I
a little
think,
bit of a combo at RS, and then
I think,
you seem to plan it without my knowledge, so fuck it. I guess my life is in your hands now.
You gotta give me this. You gotta give me this information so that I can put it into the official run of show. Now
there is no information, Chris. Everything went down smoothly.
Chris, our bodies are your vessels, and you can steer them in any direction you wish.
Use us as you may.
So I think that the table is the key element of the Party Bullies, and I think the party is where the table is at. So full Party Bullies production, is a set of 4 golf cart limos, because the things that I don't want is I don't want any hop-ons, right? So I need to make sure there's enough seats for all the butts that are going to be a part of the Party Bullies. So,
that does seem to be the essence of it all.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to my boy Riley, who before he even started party bullying, they were like, "All right, let's get in the golf carts from the concert and go." No one is really tied on, drinking wise yet. Nothing really crazy has happened. Within seconds, he's already fallen off the cart and
at full speed.
It's like, come on, bro.
That's my nightmare as a producer.
No, it was a healthy fall off. He felt great afterwards.
He's very
the thing is,
he's very athletic.
He's very limber. If it was more like me or Pac, would be like an oak tree hitting the ground and not be out for 6 days.
Yeah, I just need to get more people that have effective authority like I do, because I roll up in my tiny van and then I get out and everyone's like, "Oh, sorry, Dad."
So that's Party Patrol is Chris.
My bad,
But you also got to be just out of eyesight so people aren't feeling like they're supervised. Otherwise, they won't have the good time.
I know the balance.
I know. I don't need to tell you.
I know the balance. Yeah, but I think future Party Bullies. So number one, the table is the heart of it. So I think that we carry around 4 tables or 3 tables. 3 tables on a Friday. No, wait. 2 tables on a Friday, 3 tables on a Saturday.
Okay. Sure.
And you bring the table and you pop the table up, and that's
then you suplex Corey off the top of a golf cart onto the table.
And you have your game of flip cup.
Safety.
Whatever happens, and then the table gets broken, it gets left there, and then you move on, and then another table gets set up.
Yeah.
See, I think we should, and every time a table opens up, there should be an opening ceremony.
Opening ceremony for the new table. Yeah.
Like either some sort.
But it's pure chaos. I can barely get people to pour beer in a cup and flip it over. If you tried to orchestrate any sort of ceremonies, I would applaud you greatly, because
People fall in line.
Well, when you have the megaphone does seem to have the fall.
Yeah, you need to bring the megaphone next time. Sam.
Well, I just need to buy.
I think the goal, Sam, would be doing a moment of silence for 15 seconds for the table setup. If you get that crowd,
3 seconds, I think
it's a really
it's
good idea, because everyone
shut the fuck up. We're doing an opening ceremony. 15 seconds of pure silence.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea of 15 seconds of silence for the table, but there's still some asshole.
I'd be crazy.
It's very hard to coordinate, but that's the beauty of it, is that it's total chaos.
It's unison.
I also have a suggestion for the Party Bullies chauffeurs, for the drivers of these 4 limos.
White suits, white
gloves. Yeah. So each limo, would be chauffeured.
Yeah.
And
so obviously Sam's gonna
have and I think they're chauffeured by security.
No, wait.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, so obviously, exactly.
My security.
Okay.
Like Midwest security, like
your lieutenants.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we talk about the tone of the Midwest event, is it's like the sarcastic uncle, right? You don't want to cross him, but he's always got kind of this joking tone. You don't know how serious he is about that, that debaucherous behavior.
Are you saying that Greg doesn't deserve to be security just because I iced him and he took it?
Yeah, well, Greg got iced on the clock and he took it, so.
Well, you cannot take it.
Reprimands for another time.
No, that's not fair. You told me to. Greg, you're not in trouble. You literally told me to do it. You said,
I did tell him to do it.
Yeah. You literally told me to ice Greg, or anyone. and then Greg looks to you for
figured out
approval.
a way to ice the entire podium, and we just couldn't get it all together. Like I wanted to get like champagne bottle holders that looked like champagne, and then
That's
you
actually-
champagne because you one time attack, but you actually got iced. So like the
Yes.
entire podium,
You
like, take a
madman.
knee.
Yeah.
And it just didn't come together.
Maybe there's trophies that have like the lid on top, and you say, "All right, guys, bottles of champagne inside the trophies. On the count of 3, pop them open and drink." And then they pop open the top of the trophies.
Someday I will ice the entire podium.
That
It will
sounds
happen. I don't know, but party bullies. I like that piece of Gridlife. I have like more structure I want to put around it. And like some more officialized things.
Well, I
You definitely-
took a step back from half of it this time. I wasn't there for the full poll, and the poll that I was there for, I was trying not to be dad and alphaing it. So I took a step back. So, but from my perspective, it looked about as good and healthy as it could have been.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
You shuddered to think for a second.
You
I heard
definitely.
of some things that occurred after I separated and decided I wasn't going to go.
No,
out
I
for
mean it was all good, right? Like I think the cool thing about about Gridlife once again, and like the soul and the spirit of it, and it feels like you're an event that it's an event that you're a part of, not one that you attend. So,
Right.
I've been to plenty of events where the attendees don't have any respect for the event itself, and I want to make sure that like there's usually always like one out of every 10 people that knows somebody personally that's involved with the event or can like kind of self-police. So for the most part, things do pop up to 11 every once in a while, but it does stay at a pretty consistent 8, which I think is about
That's where you want it. Yep.
about right. Yeah.
If it can hover between 7 and then like maybe it hops to 9 for a second as a table is flipped or something ridiculous happens,
Yep.
then it's back down to 8. We're good.
Yep.
But
Totally. No, that's
you gotta,
that's
as you know,
exactly
you
what it
gotta
will be.
you gotta tiptoe because the more you curate, the less cool it gets because it's less chaotic and organic. But that's the line, man. But you at least know this is that no matter how curated it gets, I'm sure that me and some of the other boys will find a way to sneak out and cause mayhem anyways.
I mean, I'm like giving you the platform for mayhem, and you just gotta like bend it.
Because that's
Like-
what's
like a-
fun.
like the table?
There's beauty in chaos.
Well, I for once, I hope you guys get on full contract as one of the drivers for these party bully limos. Steph Papadakis definitely needs to be.
He was full in. That was hilarious. Steph was hanging out like in the thick of it. He was just like right behind Freddie, advising him at Flip Cup. It was the best.
Yeah, when we wandered up on Party Bullies, I was like, I've never really even been to the campground fully when it's in full swing at Road Atlanta because that facility's so big. I think this was the first year I actually made it there to like see what it looks like at night. That was quite a squad that the Party Bullies had. You guys were like 40 deep when I wandered up. And then you quickly scurried off as soon as I arrived.
Well, the rule is it wasn't you. It's like you get 1 to 2. You get 2 games, and after that it gets sour, and you got to keep the energy up. And then Farouk was getting very excited. So usually the thing is like you want to flip the table over after like a close, heated victory or loss. But every game that guy he was just flipping. It was difficult because there's thousands of kids all swarming around. And no one's got cups and no one's got beer. So it's like that's what you should do, Chris. You should get thousands of cups and thousands of beers. You want to help the situation, Stuart?
I certainly can't be a part of any of that.
All
So
right. You can have cups then.
Just the cups.
And then there's about a 2-game to 3-game max, and then you gotta migrate. It's just the rules. No, I didn't make the rules. No one made the
It's
rules,
organic.
Chris, but they're the rules.
The rules wrote themselves.
rules are the rules.
Also, you got to get slapped by Jared, and then Chelsea Denofa will.
Chelsea took over for sure.
Chelsea will take over once you leave, and then Chelsea came back an hour later when I was just staying in the pits hanging, and he's like, "It's really hard to keep everyone to not kill each other and to get people to pay attention to stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, man." Not easy.
That's why you need a megaphone.
It's all about the megaphone.
There's a
All right.
point where it doesn't matter who you are. It's just like
Yeah.
the crowd is like it could be even.
I'm not anyone cool. No one fucking knows who I am really, but like I just usually yell louder than other people because I want to make the partying fun. And then Chelsea, with his raspy girl voice, you know. Sorry, Chelsea, it's not true. You've got a beautiful man voice, but your rap battles shit. Let's talk about Instagram questions here. Chris,
Yep.
you getting ready to do a tour? What are you gearing up
No,
for?
the synth band started,
you
and,
wanna get
and
that?
it's quite distracting, so I had to move.
Gotcha. All right, boys. Should we do Instagram questions?
I'm ready for it.
All right. This is
Which, by the
good.
way,
Thankfully, what's up?
You have to. People have to check the photo of. Look at that dapper gentleman.
Yeah, check out Instagram.
Super classy
Driftcast. He's a very handsome boy. Lots of people asking when will you be expanding? We got to that. Long time caller, first time listener. We got to meet Richard Dinger, Hot Dog Flinger, one of our favorite usernames out there. He says, "What's the best part about Gridlife, Chris?"
The best part about Gridlife is the friendships.
Aw.
You know, I mean, with all honesty, like the drifting's rad, and the concerts are cool, and the experience as a whole. But it wouldn't be anything without your friends, you know, and old and new. So I think, yeah, it's about finding commonality in the shared experience around a subject of passion.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Wow.
And a hard question here from Macho Man Randy Sanchez, another long-time caller, first-time caller. With the new Space Force, do you think there will ever be a Gridlife on Mars?
Wow, that's a
It's very good. It's
It's
really deep,
happening.
Macho. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be. Yeah, I don't know if they'll be drifting as a part of that. We are working on some other concepts with other types of vehicles, so that might be a place where that debuts.
Wow.
Have you seen that the moon rover when the boys in the 70s were getting weird
It's
up
all
there on
drifting.
the Apollo missions? They were doing some all-wheel drive drifts on the moon. It was pretty sick.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that it's possible. I know that Mars has a higher gravity than the moon, but still not as
Right.
high as Earth. I think it's got like 0.8 or 0.7 or some shit like that. Like you can probably get some.
Just
sick
have to
drifts in
adjust
there.
your dampening and
Probably.
tire pressure.
But grip,
and-
well, I mean, not necessarily grip will be harder. All right, let's get into this. Grip will be harder because less gravity.
Right.
But the atmosphere, I'm not sure how engines would work.
on
easier
methane
with
and
this.
They're
Yeah.
electric, you know, like
there you go. Solar.
Yeah,
yeah.
Science, Sam.
Awesome.
we're gonna have to think about it.
I have a question
what you guys got?
from username Greg.Busel.
Greggles.
Greg.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's one.
Sounds
says,
like a real troublemaker.
Yeah, that guy. Sam, tell them, Chris, about how good the wings are.
All right,
Oh,
so
man.
Chris
Oh,
already
I'm so
knows.
stoked. I'm so stoked about this one. What do you got on this subject, Sam?
Well, Greg, we were at Cody Works on Thursday because we were doing a
So
snap on.
I'm walking around with you guys because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like have a tendency to pace.
I do that too. Yeah,
I
it's very
also-
hard to get me to sit still for 2 hours for these shows.
I also kind of got to pee, so.
You can just leave us on cam, dude. Let's see, whip that hog out. Let's see
Yeah.
what you got.
All right, I'm going over there. Let's head it. I think I lose
Alright.
Wi-Fi over by the bathroom, though.
Well, don't do that. Well, I went. So Greg, he got us some lemon pepper wet
Yep.
as Atlanta's staple.
Wait. You had the lemon pepper wet.
Yeah, of course I did. That's why I wanted me to tell you about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a wet man, and we actually, Paco, Corey, and I got some from some highly reviewed Yelp place after Formula Drift Atlanta. Greg got me his, and I really enjoyed Greg's wings, but I didn't want to tell him there. The ones that we got on Yelp were better, you dick. What do you think of that?
Where did you get the wings
I'm
from?
kidding. I don't know, but there's Instagram stories on our on our Instagram about us dumping a bunch of ranch dressing on the
there it
hood,
is.
in the hood of our Buick.
That's
So-
that's the theme song.
But I'm just kidding, Greg. Those were equally tied. Those were the best lemon pepper wet wings I ever had that day. And,
So-
and yeah, the Coda Works guys treated us to those, and it was killer. I loved
So-
every bit of it.
I don't know. I don't know if I should let
so
the cat
weak.
out of the bag in
Let
regards.
the cat out, dude.
All right. So somebody made a logo for Boussel's lemon pepper hot wings.
That was
Oh,
Ian.
shit. That was-
Right. So really good
Beautiful.
design. We've got the full identity to basically launch a restaurant at this point. And I think Gridlife is the perfect place to.
No.
bring the lemon pepper wet.
Are you
know,
serious?
to markets outside of Atlanta. So I think as we like make our concession program a little bit more robust, I think you can expect to see Boucel's as a food truck at every Gridlife moving forward.
That'd be great.
My mom hopefully is still here. She can vouch. Like my first favorite comfort food that I asked for every birthday of my life is she made some dry lemon pepper wings, and they were my favorite thing on earth. And I didn't know that lemon pepper wet was a thing in existence until recently. And then we had them at Gridlife at Form of the Drift, and then I just had them here at Gridlife. And fuck,
it's an Atlanta
the best thing.
Right?
It's an Atlanta thing, and just chicken wings is my favorite food. Lemon pepper is my favorite spice. Put them together.
Drums or flats?
You know what? I like to
flats.
I like to move around. I mean, the drums are nice due to ease of
flats.
eating.
I'm a flats guy.
Flats are cool because you get to rip them apart and be all carnivore.
Yeah.
Suck the whole thing out of the bones.
Wow.
Paco, tell me about your strategy. Tell me.
All right, so
what is your strategy?
you have to
You
grab
can go
the
pee right
flats.
now, Chris, if you want to miss this.
Grab the flats
I'm gonna
from
do
the
that.
from
Yeah,
the
all right.
hard
Then
bone
you got me for another 2.5 hours.
from the
We have
very
2 more
end.
hours after this. We're never gonna stop.
I'm gonna leave you guys on Blast City here.
Oh fuck yeah!
Oh hi,
All right,
Larry.
tell me about how you eat the meat off the bone, Paco.
Yeah, okay, so you grab the flat by the
Okay.
thick bone side.
Okay, thick
You know.
bone side.
Stick the whole thing in your mouth, bite it, and then just pull out, and it just comes off like, you know, like the bones.
I'm gonna start calling you the Bone Wizard.
Oh,
I'm gonna call him Pull Out Paco.
Pull out
yeah,
Paco. Yeah.
I
The
always
Bone Wizard.
I
or
always
out
pull out
Paco.
with those bones. Which, by the way, I'm extremely angry at Corey because we couldn't stop to get our wings on the way back to the airport.
Corey, what the fuck, you idiot?
Yeah.
That's what you get when you wait last minute to leave, Paco.
Well, I'm not the one who. Dude, I was in
Yeah,
the car for
yeah.
an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paco. Yeah.
I was in the car for an hour waiting for you guys.
Nope.
Also, Corey, did you know that I finally got a separate hotel room from Paco, so I wouldn't have to hear him snore, and then I ended up having to fucking sleep with Jared every night.
Oh,
Jared kept on
no.
partying, and Scott, who Jared was staying with, didn't want Jared to come stomping at 5 a.m. And the best part is, Jared, the first night, he's like, yeah, don't worry, I don't snore, because I'm a very light sleeper. It's no fault of Paco. Paco has done everything he can to stop snoring, but I just don't sleep very soundly when there's someone choking on their fucking tongue next to me. But night one, Jared passes out because he's so happy about Taco Bell. He's just mumbling about Taco Bell as he's falling asleep, and then within 10 seconds, I just hear like a. I'm like, motherfucker, here we go, and then
Taco Bell coma, dude. The old-fashioned Taco Bell coma.
I was about to fucking slap him in the face
And his little neck.
And then he stopped. And it was all good. All right, stop calling on Chris.
All right, stop talking about him. He's back. He's back.
It's cool. He's
Shut
back.
the fuck up. He's back.
He's back. He's back.
All right.
All right.
So
Uh,
yeah.
You know, I can just play it back, guys. You know.
Oh no,
No,
he's
we weren't
smart.
talking shit. But that video game behind you just reminded me of the other thing that needs to happen at Gridlife is we both figured out this other congruency in our lives at Form of the Drift St. Louis. Chris and I both have an extreme affinity for pinball and classic arcade.
My
games.
dream. So like. And I've wanted this since 2014. Is I really want like a full arcade
Right.
as a part of the Gridlife experience, and we're really close. So like,
Yeah.
anytime that we get more resources or like a partner comes in to support the event, I just spend it on dumb shit.
It's true.
So like,
Yes.
yeah, and arcade is the next dumb shit that I'm adding. So
I just need,
support-
I need
support
like
this
at least
idea.
a dozen pinballers, maybe a dozen for me privately, just so I can bounce back and forth.
Well-
Maybe a Mars Attacks would be nice.
Gotta have
like
the
what-
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone is important.
Twilight Zone is a classic. I'd like to have Pinbot for sure. You know, the Addams Family has got to be there. That's a classic.
I like the new Game of Thrones one is kind of good actually, and the new Star Trek movie one.
I don't like any of the. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't like them, but
Yeah.
the Stern pinballs, they're narrower and longer than the old Midway ones. So they move faster, and I just get it provides
Yeah.
more frustration for
There
me.
was one, I forget the name of it. It was kind of like very futuristic. It's called like Reactor or Fusion Core or something like that. And you got to start the core, and it's very Spartan and very low bullshit on the thing. It's very
Oh.
no, it's modern, but
Okay.
it's like you're pretty much playing half court the entire time. And then you start the reactor, and then you go full court, and it opens up the top half of it. It's super challenging, very hard, and has a strong rumble pack in it, essentially, like the N64 controllers. And it was the most modern pinball fun I've had in a long time. But yeah, we're getting way deeper than anyone gives a show.
You definitely have to get the Getaway. That's a car theme one.
Well, maybe once you cross that Oregon Trail, we can get you to.
We'll talk about this.
House and get a bunch of pinball games.
It's probably not as difficult as I think.
Yeah. There's got to be some private party dudes that just haul in that stuff, and it probably costs only one house remortgage.
Does anyone ever ask the commenters questions? Does that ever happen?
Well, every anniversary for our show, we call them, and then we bullshit with them. So we tell them to submit their numbers, and then every I forget it's the anniversary, the 100th episode or whatever, we do fan appreciation
every
stuff.
1 year,
and we just call up them and talk shit to them for an entire episode.
I just want to know what they think, which artists they think I should book.
That's a great question.
Then I'm sure they'll be happy to tell you. But you already heard me. I want Jai Wolf, I want Porter Robinson, and I want Dio.
Oh, nice.
Dio. Yeah, I'd have to do the second stage.
Which brings me to
Dio might be playing in my office right now.
Well, that's funny because username Tyler is Green is saying RTJ. I
think that's probably an inevitability at this point. So.
Oh, yeah. But there is of course budgetary constraint, and that's one of the things.
There is budgetary constraint.
You would like every artist. You'd like the Black Eyed Peas, because that's what all the kids are into.
Sure.
You
Fergie
want to
shows
see,
up.
Yeah.
And...
You want to see Lady Gaga.
I want to get the Black Eyed Peas pre-Fergie.
Pre-Fergie,
if I could.
You also want Meatloaf.
You want Meatloaf? I would do anything for Meatloaf.
And Celine Dion.
Celine. God damn, if she could shred up there.
There's been a pretty high request for Carly Rae Jepsen this year. We've heard that a lot. And then I wanted to do a full Pure Mood set. Just book all the artists that are a part of the first edition of Pure Moods and just do a whole Pure Mood stage.
I would say, what about Jock Jam stage?
Or We Are the World.
Just a 2-hour Quad Cities DJ set.
Yeah.
Just come on, ride that train
Michelle, Tamika, and Tanya want to ride the train.
Yeah, I would say maybe also consider some Static X, some Drowning Pool. Let's let those bodies.
What
hit the
about
floor,
Godsmack?
Look, I'm gonna give you 4 steps to the bands you need. All right,
that's good. I'll help you with this, Sam. If you need help.
All right.
I have one.
One.
Yep.
Something's wrong with me.
Something's got to give.
All right. 3.
Nothing's wrong with me.
No. Something's got to give. 4. Let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
You for something besides announcing?
Yeah. I'm pretty good at rap battles.
And karaoke.
That's the thing. Can we just have a karaoke? Instead of having an artist, just do karaoke.
Imagine if you give a stage to anybody that wants to take the stage.
Yeah.
Anybody could be a rock star at Gridlife.
Actually, hold on. We might be onto something.
We might be onto something.
Wait.
To do a karaoke stage would be an excellent idea.
One of the concepts that I want to execute is a pop-up dive bar that's hidden somewhere in the facility.
We talked about
that. And I think karaoke could definitely be a part of that.
Count me in.
That was the one concept was that it has a jukebox that's filled with only songs that I want to hear.
There you go.
Or we could just do karaoke instead, which would be a pretty good Party Bullies destination, I think.
Well, I know that Forsberg, Vaughn, myself, Paco, we're all heavy karaokeers, and I have a full file of songs I in my notebook of things I like to sing. One of them being Avril Lavigne's. It's not called "Damn Cold Night." I forget the name, but I sing that in Mitch Hetfield voice. And I'm not Mitch Hetfield. What's the name? Lead singer Metallica, Matt Hetfield.
Get your notes, Sam.
I gotta get my notes. Anyways, Metallica voice for Avril Lavigne songs. That's one of my jams. Paco, what do you do?
Obviously, Billy Idol, Rebel Yell. That I can do that one in expert.
Also, Return to Innocence. That's a big one for me by Enigma.
Corey and I did an amazing rendition of Time of Our Life.
Yeah, me and Paco's done Time of Our Life. I usually do Fine Young Cannibal. She drives me crazy.
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
Take on Me by Aha.
Didn't we do?
So this clearly has to happen.
All right.
So
It's
what
gonna.
if I took Boussel's and made Boussel's the dive bar, and it opened up at midnight, right after the main stage goes
Holy
dark,
shit.
and then it's like a Wingstop dive bar
you ever wanna
karaoke experience.
You ever want to kill party bullying? That's the way, because we would never leave.
I would
that
never
place.
leave that place.
And I wouldn't have to kill
Yeah.
party bullying. It would
Okay.
just be maybe the final stop for party bullying.
I
It's
think-
like, you know,
I
let's
think that's
burn
a
a few
thing.
tables and let's go get some chicken wings and sing some karaoke.
Chicken wings and
That's-
karaoke.
That's what I'm going to spend the partner dollars
That's
on
it.
is setting up Boussel's.
That's it. All right,
So-
God, done.
it's
for-
happening.
It's for the people, man. See, this is the Driftcast summit. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
what should
Figured it out.
what should we really add to Gridlife?
You're welcome, Forsberg.
A
if
lemon
that's-
a lemon pepper wing karaoke bar.
Oh shit, he
Yes.
needs vegan wings though. No,
We can
what did
make-
they do? They do like tofu
My-
sticks, don't they?
Yeah, my tenants / really good friends are vegan, and I'm like, my wife's a vegetarian, so I'm like half vegan. You know, we can make that happen. We can deep fry some tofu. No
Yeah.
big.
I had vegan food yesterday. I take vegan food, but sometimes I need my wangs.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel you.
I feel you, homie. Any other questions for our boy Chris before we let him get back to his fam?
Probably be about the right time. Actually, there's an interesting one right here that I was kind of curious. Let me see. Where is it at? Question from Carl M17. Why is Chris Stewart obsessed with the Chicago Mothman? And why hasn't he disclosed his personal research to the public?
Is that true, Chris? Oh, he's getting serious.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Are you a Mothman?
I can't speak on that subject.
What? Should we go get
I actually
team?
don't even know what the Chicago Mothman is. Should I
Mothman
should
prophecies?
Oh,
I know that?
let me
Why
see.
I don't
would-
know.
Am I not a true Chicagoan?
I guess not.
I'm googling it. I'm looking it up right now.
Carl, it's okay. He's hiding this. He doesn't want the
I'm
government
looking
to
up
be
Chicago
affected by
Moth. So far, I got the Chicago
That's-
Mothman map.
You know, if you were an expert on the Chicago Mothman and you don't want it to people to know, you would deny it right away. So good,
Exactly.
wink,
Good.
wink.
Right.
I
Yeah, we
guess
got
it's a
it.
guy. It looks like a guy that's part
No, that's a statue.
It's terrifying, man. It's like
moth or
Spring-Hill Jack. It's
no,
like
it looks like
Chupacabra.
you're not looking here, Paco, because there's sightings of him flying around the town. So
Yeah.
he's not a
Like
statue.
like hairy dick, big dick. What do they call?
And
him?
he's ripped. The Mothman has a 6-pack, sweet pectorals. He has a nice set of glutes on him.
Mm.
I think that's just Cody
I'm looking at
Madrow,
Chris's
our
picture.
vibe, our director of vibes in his wingsuit, because he just became certified for skydiving. That's his dream, is to wingsuit into Gridlife during the drift sessions. And I told him no. I told him I can't have it.
Why not?
What?
It just seems like a liability to me.
Wow.
Of course, it.
Well,
It's the
next year
it's
we've
the
always
director of concern coming out.
talked
Yeah.
about getting roller skates and getting towed down the hill
Downhill.
in Atlanta
Yeah.
for the first drift session.
I want to get the shot. I want to hold the movie, go down the hill on roller skates, following cars.
Roller skates or roller blades?
Roller skates.
Skates.
Yeah.
Okay, on quads, proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a toe stop.
Yeah.
No.
I run a toe stop.
No stops.
You run no stops?
Only go. No, I just tuck.
Yeah.
Did I mention I'm wearing one of those aero helmets that goes like down the back of your neck?
Are you wearing a bodysuit?
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Good.
Dick out.
Oh, and finally, I think that the way you guys should close the track after the last race of the day,
Okay.
it's a golf cart race
Nope.
around
That's
Road
not gonna
Atlanta.
happen. It's absolutely not going to happen.
It's pretty
See,
slow.
I knew we would become good friends. Sam.
Yeah. I have just enough chaos in me, but the second I hear something that's going to get someone hurt,
Yeah,
I-
and like
Well, are you trying to say that racing across Road Atlanta, perfectly
Paco,
paved
people
track?
can't even stay on the golf carts at 5 miles an hour. in a
I'm
straight
not
line.
talking
And through
about.
a
I'm not
pit.
talking about a
technically-
mob.
Technically, golf carts aren't allowed at Gridlife, and like I don't know if you noticed the like lack of pit bikes at Midwest. It's like
Yeah,
it takes a few years for us to take away the fun before people like can deal with it. So like. Yeah, the last thing that we want is somebody to get for an incident to happen on a golf cart.
Yeah, well, I mean, what
The
we really
worst.
need is, well, if you can do like a door prize, like Heelys,
Heelys
everyone.
would be good.
And then now we're like, if we do like a downhill Atlanta Heelys comp at the end of the night, and everyone
That
just
sounds
goes down the
that
hill.
totally sounds safer than just driving around the track on a golf cart.
Yeah, well, at least it doesn't have a motorized aspect, and you can go.
We can
on
do
Heelys
ice
for-
blocking, Sam.
for now. Well, I'd say that Heelys. I'd say you do a shot, like ice luge of Heelys. So you do shots of vodka around the track.
Yep.
And then you on your Heelys, like it's like a race, but as a relay race, you have to do a lot of shots.
What if I did like a soap shoes course?
Yeah.
You know?
That's the next thing.
Yeah, and like bypass Heelys, go a little bit further back, and instead of like people have asked me if I'm ever gonna bring in like skate ramps or like some other type of
Soap
action
course.
sport, soaps like that's
Yeah, we got a full-blown soap
that's what
course in
needs
the
to
back.
come,
All
you
right, so
know?
kids that are a decade or more younger than us,
date.
soaps are rollerblades without the wheels,
Pretty much.
and you can just walk around in them. Then all of a sudden, bust out a
Bust
fat
out a grind,
on a
yeah,
rail.
They kind of sounded like a good idea on paper.
Hey man, they were sick as fuck. My mom wouldn't let me buy them. She's like, "I just bought you $50 Jenkos. What's wrong with you?"
Have you ever seen that MTV segment on freestyle walking? Like,
May have, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
way
you
back. That's throwback.
you should look that up. It's pretty solid. So yeah, we'll add freestyle walking to Gridlife, and that'll really complete the picture, I'm sure.
I
Well,
can't
we're
wait.
full of ideas about. It seems so far about 1% of them are actually feasible and good. But if you have any other terrible bands or ideas, feel free to tell Chris, because I'm sure he's just dying to know.
I think that's probably the just to go back to like the first question. Well, I guess that wasn't the question. The most frustrating thing about, or like the most challenging thing about
That
Gridlife
was like the first question.
is booking the talent.
Really.
And like trying to figure out like what is going to provide the most cohesive music experience and the best party for the attendees, you know, and everybody has opinions about that. And that's hard. Booking talent is really hard, and playing in that world is really challenging. And then providing the like right party for the people is tough.
I want to see
So-
some mixed act like Andrew WK again though, because like
Yeah,
Ride was awesome and exciting, and Killer Mike was killer, but where was that old guy
party,
rock
party,
aspect?
party, party,
Yeah,
party,
party.
Yep.
Let's get this
Yep.
party
Yeah,
started.
I mean,
Let's
I
get
think
this party
you know,
started.
moves forward and future of Gridlife is definitely like moving towards a 2-stage festival, and 2 stages opens up a whole lot more possibilities in regards to, you know, being able to like add variety to the
without
talent pool.
killing the vibe of one entire sect of people at one stage with the next band.
Totally, yeah. It's definitely a very, very difficult thing to do, but we do live in a world where, you know, people are into a lot of different things, you know, especially musically. So I don't know. I guess that's a good thing.
Definitely. Everything but country, man. Bring it out. I'll watch it. Unless it's like that really almost tongue-in-cheek bad country, like the Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Like I would listen to some of that.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
were talking, you know, about the crossover between country and hip hop, because the crossover in audience is like massive.
Like
apparently.
Bubba Sparks or something?
No, just country, like all country and hip hop has a giant audience crossover. Like fans of country are fans of hip hop. Fans of hip hop aren't necessarily fans of country, but it goes one way. So I don't know. Nelly is killing it on the country music festival circuit. That is a true statement.
Wow.
Really. All right. Well, I think it's time, Chris. We've nailed everything.
Yep.
Just like you've nailed the Gridlifing, and we're so pumped at the success of this year's events. Cannot wait to start planning the next ones with you and all the great ideas we have. What's next? So you're going on your little vacation here. You get to take a breather, but then where do you start with? Where's square one?
Well, I mean, man, yeah, the vacation is going to be definitely very short-lived. So it'll be a challenge to stop the gears from turning for just a short period of time, so I can enjoy some time with the family. But yeah, we're going right into 2019 and 2020 planning. So looking about 2 years out at things, and definitely going to have some exciting things that we're going to do at SEMA this year. At least that's in the works, not fully solidified, but we're looking to bring the Gridlife experience to that event in that location in some capacity. So hopefully we can get all those things together and make that happen. And
I don't even know what that means.
Nobody knows what that means.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think Gridlife knows how to throw a pretty good party, and I think you know, the best part about SEMA is the parties. Maybe. So we'll see if that all unfolds. It's definitely something we're working on, but not totally solidified yet. So that's kind of big. We're wrapping up the season, round 5 at Gingerman, and then getting into 2019. And you know, we're looking at some new facilities and some new regions, and yeah. I don't know. We'll see if we can get all that stuff together and make some big moves for next year. But yeah, change is coming.
Hell yeah. Well, that is very exciting. I'm sure it will be awesome. I was trying to think of something.
We try to make it
ridiculous.
Be. Yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing else to say about it. We've said it 1,000 times on the event or on the show is that Gridlife are the best shit in the world. And if you haven't made it out to one, maybe you do next year. And maybe there's one in another location.
All are welcome. We'd love to see you there.
Well, thank you for all of your time with us. Thanks for all the hard work into the events. Enjoy your little vacation with the kids and the wife.
I will. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thanks
buddy.
for joining us, buddy.
Thanks,
Yep.
Chris.
See ya, dude.
See you guys.
Night. Is he gone?
Get out of here. Get the
Come on, hurry up.
Just
All right,
hang up.
Jeez, now the show's. Oh, we just messed up the whole
Bye.
show.
Bye.
There you go.
Should I move my mic so my face isn't halfway off the screen now?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
hi,
hey.
Sam.
Oh, hey, guys.
I was gonna say, like, look
Hi,
at your
Yams.
place, all dual color. Looks
My
nice.
cat
Oh, it's
just
beautiful
knocked over the
mood
bowl in
lighting,
the kitchen.
Sam.
I think he's angry about not having second dinner yet.
Oh, I'm down for second dinner. I'm down for first dinner. I haven't eaten anything all day.
Oh, Paco, then boy, are
Yaco,
you
come
tired.
One other thing before we move into something else. Oh, I mean, are we moving into something else, or that's
No, I
it
don't
for?
got shit else to talk about. I gotta go do some stuff.
Yeah,
I gotta
real.
go.
So
Beat
real
your
quick.
Peter.
I gotta go
Corey,
DJ set.
got one of those
I'm gonna be at
t-shirts.
the Palms tonight. Gonna be doing all
Where-
drown-in pool, let the bodies hit the floor set. Guys, check it out. Paco, what are you motioning with hands to Corey about?
Just pointing at Corey, but he's saying no. No, he's just being a little boy.
Corey, do you have secrets?
No, I don't have anything. But looks like Paco
Good.
got some T-shirts. He wanted to show them off.
Yeah, we got some T-shirts from Dalton Gerhardt. For those who don't know, it's a gentleman who lent us his S14 for that Forza.
Oh, cool.
What's it called?
Did he pre-cut the nipples out for you, Paco, or are those still intact?
Corey's one has no nips for sure.
All right, good.
So
Perfect.
thanks, Dalton. Thanks for letting us use your car.
Yeah, buddy.
Obviously, Corey had nothing to do with that.
All done.
Yep.
And I guess we should thank our sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Corey's favorite
Oh, yeah,
part.
and hopefully, if you were at the event, you got one of our sweet AM intakes, Maximum Gridlife limited edition swag. We were giving them away when we were announcing from the Keyhole area. And the most for you doing trivia about stuff, and the most fun giveaway I had there was instead of trivia questions, I said whoever can catch Paco gets one.
That was
And
awesome. I heard.
then I yelled Paco run.
And I did.
And then like 3 people got up, and I didn't expect anyone to get up and chase.
I
him 'cause
never
it was-
seen anybody coming at me with those
Man,
eyes.
It was some fervor. It was good. I loved it.
But it was fun. We're gonna have some of those. We have some leftover limited edition Maximum Gridlife shirts.
Yep, I already have them back.
We'll probably make them available somehow. Pretty soon we'll let you know in the next episode for sure.
Maybe we
Or
can give them away to our Patreons.
We'll let you guys know.
Paco's all about making a quick dollar. You know him,
Yeah,
Corey.
he's just
Yeah.
a little dirty hustler, dude.
That's all I'm about.
Paco, when are
so-
we gonna get paid for this show? You haven't paid us a single dollar. We're working
Yeah,
here for
dude,
slave
come on.
wages.
Well, I mean, obviously, as you should know, I mean, the studio that's not in my house, I have to pay. I have to pay for that place.
I never got rent when it was in my house.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, you snooze, you lose.
So we owe you back rent, I guess, Sam. Back rent and back internet.
Back rent.
All right,
Wait, you pay for his internet too?
Can I pay you on
What
lemon
percentage
pepper
of his
lemon
internet do
pepper
you pay
wings?
Because I'm sure that at least 50 to 60% of that's used for hentai, and I'm
Hentai.
not paying
Yep.
for Paco's hentai.
Yep.
It's not hentai. It's art.
It's art.
So we have to thank Motegi Racing as well. Motegi Racing was present at Gridlife this weekend, helping Corey.
I didn't see Josh a ton, but I guess
Yeah, he was out there. There was quite.
He was working,
Yep.
shooting footy. There was also, since Corey and Osbo are both Motegi drivers, so he was also supporting Osbo and shooting footage for him. And thank you guys, because you guys are awesome. You guys are one of the reasons why our show is going on. And also Nexen Tires, they were also at the event.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much the whole trifecta.
It just seems like all the companies we work with are
I
making
think
moves.
literally, we should just call it maximum
Gridlife.
Gridlife. I mean,
It's almost like they're involved in the cool parts of the sport.
Yeah.
The best part.
They know what it's up. So
They
thank
know
you.
what it's up.
They know what it's up. So thank you, Nexen. They were bringing tires. Dude, I mean, how many Nexen Tires drivers were there?
They threw
Osbo,
some
Forsberg,
Turk,
Corey,
Tanner.
They let Andy throw some of the race tires on the bends, and he was so pumped because he immediately said, like on the straightaway, it had 100 more horsepower. This being the Race Service Racer Chaser bends, and yeah, they swapped out the tires for some of them Nexens and the Inferas and the Nexen Infera tires. He said just completely ripped her. So
yeah,
I'm excited to burn the tires off my car and get some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've also considered buying some like 15-inch OZ rally wheels and throwing them on my car and then getting some Nexens throw them on there. I'm tired of ripping my bumper off in the driveway, guys.
Don't do it, Sam. And then obviously AM. Thank you, AM.
Already said AM intakes.
Good, because you suck, Sam.
No, thanks AM. Thanks, Chris.
And
Thanks for making it happen with the shirts. We got some sweet name tags that Paco was throwing on the chests of drivers with lewd things.
I'm super proud that I managed to stick one on Papadakis without him noticing.
What'd you stick?
One of the name tags, it said
Well, I know, but what did it say?
Papa Daddy Kisses.
Papa Mama Kisses.
No, it was Papa Daddy Kisses because Papa Daddy, I was just trying to make it very obvious. And I saw him later, like he noticed that he had something sticking on it, and he kind of like pulled it off and was like, "What the hell is this?" He looked at it and was like, "Oh, okay," and just put it back on and make sure it stick.
Man,
So
I really
thanks, Steph.
That might be the highlight of the event, was hanging out with Steph, and by hanging out I mean being in the general vicinity with him and talking vaguely about cars every now and then.
He was partying.
He was partying. No, I'm saying he was full party, but he even parties mathematically. I could see him crunching the numbers on all the weight jacking of the cups and the tables.
Yeah,
and
like cheating.
He was cheating. He was cheating.
He was cheating, wasn't he?
Yeah, and also he and his crew always super welcoming and super helpful and very super nice to all the fans. I mean, like there were some of the nicest crew people, including Steph himself. It was definitely very cool to see new people that you're used to seeing at Formula Drift, but on a non-competitive mode.
Osbo even said that many aspects of Gridlife are better than Gattabil. He said that, like the on-track insanity of Gattabil is a little bit crazier because they just have the grip drivers and the drifters out at the same time, which I don't know how well that would go at Atlanta with our crew. But he said that the party aspect was in many ways different and better, which is pretty cool to hear.
There's no sound ordinance where in Gridlife they have a limit on the.
He said there's noise limits at Gattabil.
Yeah,
and not some of the partying, but we still have to make it out there. Gattabil, call me, Mr. Gattabil. I'd like to go inside of you.
Yeah, we one of these days for sure. We got an official invite by one of the guys. Just so you know.
One part of the execution.
Yeah. So
Judge, Judy, and Executioner.
Yeah. That's a great monster truck name.
And obviously, finally, our Patreons. Thank you guys. The show wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't because of you guys.
Paco's going to be sending out his limited edition Polaroids, specialized for each of you, with different provocative Paco poses.
Very provocative.
I just made that up, but he could do that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, Paco, you should do that. You should just open up the fruit basket
And yeah, show him the
Oof, that provocative. Look at that.
Star Spangled Bunghole.
My face is black and grime.
Yeah, Paco's in blackface for the audio-only listeners. It's very distasteful.
Like we do a lot of tasteful stuff, anyways. Anyways.
No, is it tasteful?
Oh,
tasteful.
okay. All right. Well.
All right.
Let's send them to the darkness.
Away.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
What's the name of the episode? Did we find one?
Maximum
in the middle of all that?
Maximum Gridlife.
Maximum Gridcast.
Maximum Gridcast.
Maximum Gridlife is good.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for tuning. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Everybody
have a good.
Paco. Thanks, Big Balls. Thanks, Cold.
Thanks, ma'am.
Who said that? I heard a cat.
Oh, that's
Brian's app on his phone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful, Brian. Thank you. Corey, I hope that on the way home you get in a car accident.
Okay. I'll look for one while I'm out there.
All right.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Paco.
Everyone has a good night.
Corey, I hope you spill a bunch of hot mac and cheese in your lap and then crash into a fire truck.
Okay. I will, and then I'll launch it on your face.
We'll make sure to get that on video. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.